Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Joe. Always a pleasure.
Great to see you, man.
Great to see you guys always. What the fuck's happening? Welcome to America.
We love being here so much, Joe.
Your country just keeps getting weirder every time you visit. Every time you visit, I want to ask you about some new
So
video.
does yours, brother. Let's be honest.
Guilty as charged. This is. I think we're really close to like proof that the simulation is real. I think this is why things are so preposterous.
Do you know, I try and argue against that, and then I see what's happening in all our countries, and I'm like, you know what? Fine. Probably you've got a point now.
Yeah, you know when I really started, we were actually talking about this yesterday. I really started to genuinely consider it, like one of those where it like snuck in through my defenses, my logical defenses, when this girl Heather McDonald blacked out on stage while she was making jokes about being vaccinated, and then she blacks out and cracks her skull. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Legitimately. There was the first time in my life where I was like, there's no way. I was like, they're fucking with us.
Yeah.
They're just fucking with something's that can't be so dead on. Like this is like God is a scriptwriter. Like, how is that a real thing? That's a video where someone is she didn't do it when she was making fun of her boyfriend. She didn't do it when she's talking about idiots in traffic. It was when she was talking about the vaccine. And how, you know, I even still got my period, so Jesus loves me more. And then, boom. Like, there's no way. It's too good. The timing was exquisite. You couldn't have, if you had a movie where that was a scene, you could not have scripted or timed it any better. Where you would tell her, and drop. There's no way. I started legitimately wondering then. And I know that's a stupid example. I'm very aware of. You're like, you fucking moron. All the things in the world, there's plenty of examples. God, Jesus
So
loves me the most.
So nice.
Look at this. I mean, and the audience is laughing. Probably the best laugh she got all night, right? Because it's a big move. It's a big move. You know, if you're a pratfall person, no one expects it. Like, that's hilarious. If it goes with the bit... You know?
And it's timed perfectly, absolutely. What's that quote? God is a comedian playing to an audience too afraid to laugh.
Wow. What a great... Who said that?
It was either... I've said it, and it's either Voltaire or Camus. I can't remember which one.
Jamie will find out.
Yeah, but that's a quote. God is a comedian playing to an audience too afraid to laugh.
If that happened to me...
Voltaire.
There you go.
If that happened to me, my Russian grandmother would be just like, God is punishing you.
Yeah, and that's why Russians are scary to fight. They're harder people. They're harder people.
No, you'll learn lesson.
Yeah. We have business to discuss.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems fake. There's so much that seems fake. You know, it's like all the news, the people that are politicians. Everyone feels like they're like, who's the Fetterman character? This guy is wearing a hoodie and shorts. That's the wacky neighbor. You know, and then Jasmine Crockett, she's that loudmouth lady from down the street, and they're like, oh, here comes Jasmine. Shit's going to get crazy, you know? And Maxine Waters like, oh, she's old. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. It's like these are fake people. Nancy Pelosi, this giant-tittied lady who wants all the money, who's been in politics for 150 years. There's pictures of her with Kennedy.
I didn't realize Nancy Pelosi was well endowed.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Really?
Yeah.
You've done the research.
Well, there's all these photos where people are calling her, what's a gilf? A grandma you'd like to, yeah. You never seen her boobs?
No, I have never seen Nancy
disrespect.
Pelosi's boobs, Joe.
No disrespect, Mrs. Pelosi. I admire her for her stock choices, but
Fantastic.
those are legit.
You know,
Those
I got to
are
say,
hammers.
this is a great start to the podcast, and we aren't even stoned.
How did you not know? How did you not know that you're a grown man? Look at the size of those fucking sweater hammers.
That is
Wow.
incredible. That has made me a lot more in favor of Congress.
So is
right
that?
now. Wow.
Hold that. Go to that last
This
picture.
one might not have been, but it
That
looks
seems
real.
fake, but it might be like from the Clinton administration. See, these deep state vampires.
I really
that-
thought you were going to go somewhere else. When you said deep, I went, this is going somewhere. I didn't expect that.
These Deep state vampires as hot as Nancy Pelosi used to be. Deep state vampire, no disrespect, Mrs. Pelosi. They've been around in the system forever. Like the relationships that those people make and the control that they establish and the Rolodex. And I got shit on Lindsay and Lindsay's got shit on this guy. And it's like, Jesus.
It's a fucking dirty business, man. Oh, it's crazy.
Bro, it's the dirtiest. It's the dirtiest business. It's the dirtiest business in the world.
You know what I think now that when I look at politics and you look at wrestling, and I remember criticizing like people who watch soap operas. I remember and just going, oh, they're so dumb. And I remember my ex going to me, she went, Francis, you like soccer. That's just soap opera, but for men. And when you think about it, it kind of is. We just buy into our different soap operas.
Except soccer's happening for real, and the soap opera is just a dumb pretend of a goofy life that's not real.
Yeah, but politics is kind of soap opera for like adults.
Yeah, sure. I think it's teams for adults for sure. For
It is
people that
teams.
don't like sports, it becomes like a giant part of their. It's like a guy with a Cubs hat. You know, I'm fucking Chicago Cubs till I die. Till I die, bro. Chicago Cubs. One day we're gonna pull it up. Like people in Chicago, they fucking deliver. You'll fight you in Philadelphia if you don't like the Eagles. They will fight you. Like if you go to a Philadelphia Eagles game and you're from another team, they will beat your fucking ass, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. You're both Americans. Like, this is the dumbest thing of all time. Like, one's from a different city, so they're your enemy because they support a different football team. We do it with everything.
I know you find that shocking, Joe, but in England, in Britain, that is like run of the mill. So in the 70s and 80s, each football team, and to some extent now, they had their own what's called a firm, which are these hooligans whose only thing, they didn't really give a shit about the football, the soccer. They would get together with the supporters of the firms of other teams to have fights in the car park outside the stadium. And they would travel all around the country doing that.
Yeah.
So it's actually it's one thing I love about American sports. Like you can go to the game with your kids and not worry about the stuff that people are going to be screaming and shouting and all that violence. You are a lot more chilled out than we are in Europe about that stuff, believe it or not.
Oh, I do believe it. I do believe it. But any like group like that, like soccer, traveling group, you're going to attract some fucking psychos that hop along. It's like when the Grateful Dead go on tour. Like, I bet they're not specifically asking cult members to recruit with acid in the parking lot. But for sure, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
For sure. If you're like a psycho cult leader and you want to pick up some people, you're going to go to a place where everyone's on acid. You're going to go to a Fish concert and explain to them, you know, you guys, I know you're in between apartments right now. We have an amazing community and everyone's accepted. And next thing you know, you're in a cult.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're doing acid with this fucking weirdo and, you know, he's in the lotus position and you're all pretending that this is normal.
But you know what's really interesting about soccer is that hooligan element, that's not just in the UK, that's right the way through Europe and in South America.
It's New Zealand too, right? Don't they duke it out in New Zealand?
No, it's
with
not in New
rugby
Zealand.
teams?
Yeah, rugby's kind of different because football with the hooligan element. So in Italian soccer, for example, they have what the hooligans are called the ultras. Yeah. And they're so powerful that if the team is playing badly, then what the captain has to do, he then gets, in some instances, the ultras have blockaded the stadium, refused that the players leave, and the captain is then demanded to go and have a meeting with the head ultra.
Oh my God. That kind of pressure while you're playing a world-class soccer match.
Yeah, so then this kid, and let's be fair, he's a kid in his mid to late 20s probably, then has to go out and have a meeting with this 40-year-old tattooed psycho and then explain to him exactly why the team is underperforming.
Wow.
That's basically what professional sports is, especially soccer. It's like you're trying to do your best in front of 50,000 people who are all screaming that you're a cunt. You know? That's basically it.
Yeah.
In that sense, fighting is more pure because people don't really get upset at a fighter for losing. You really more like celebrate the other guy for winning.
Yeah.
You know, it's very rare the fighter gets demolished for losing. Like they would have to lose in a specific way. Like they'd have to quit somehow. But there's none of that in the UFC. It's like, because to get at that level, you can't have any of that in you. By the time you get to the big show, like those guys are tried and proven. They're not. There's no cowards in that group.
No.
You know, so they don't get that same kind of criticism that athletes have, which is one of the because it's like literally your life's on the line. Like it's a different thing you're doing than just a sport, which is why the regular kind of journalism doesn't work in MMA. Like sports journalism in the United States, at least, is like super insulty. Like he's a bum, he's lazy, he doesn't do the work in the off season, and we're seeing it now. Yeah. He's a fucking loser. Like that's what they like to do that.
Same in the UK, man.
Bro, you do that about fighters, and they'll find you. All right, they'll fucking smack you in your face. Like this is their soul they're bearing in front of the world, and for you, some fat guy chewing Adderall and typing into a MacBook Air, fuck you. That guy will smack you in your fucking head. He's a terrifying human being trying his best. And you have to describe it that way because it's a different thing than someone who doesn't hit free throws. It's a different thing.
Did you ever hear the story? I think it was a guy called Curtis. I think it was Curtis Woodhouse. It was someone like that. So it may not have been Curtis, but it was someone of that ilk. Wasn't a heavy? Well, he was a middleweight champion, but he wasn't European or world. But he was a British middleweight champion, which is still a huge achievement. Huge achievement. Anyway, so this kid was trolling him. This happened about 10, 12 years ago.
Oh, boy.
And this kid was trolling him online and saying all this horrendous stuff. And the guy just responded. He went, right, I've had enough now, and I'm coming to find you. And the kid was just like, yeah, you're going to come and find me. And he goes, bro, I know you live in Birmingham. And the kid's like, yeah, but Birmingham's a big place. He went, no, I know people, and we will get your address. And then so he then started posting photos on his Twitter going, driving to Birmingham to see you. And then he went, and then he took a photo of the sign of his town and went, I'm coming to see you. And then he took a photo at the bottom of his road and he went, you best come out because we're going to be talking. And the kid just went, and just apologized. And he went, that's cool, bro. And he just knocked on his door and had a conversation with him.
Jesus.
And he was just like, look. And
what was the kid, what did he look like?
It was just like this little fat kid.
But we're giving people the power and the tools that they don't deserve. And I don't say that they don't deserve it as human beings. I mean, you're not capable of handling this kind of responsibility to be able to reach out to a middleweight champion and call him a pussy. Yeah. Like, that's a crazy thing to do. And if you're like 15 years old and you have this ability, you shouldn't have a license to do that yet. It's almost like a driver's license. Yeah. Maybe you should have an internet license. Yeah. No, Billy, you can't post another picture of your dick, you fucking psycho. You know, like you can't just put up permanently things that could ruin your entire life when you're 15. Maybe there should be that. Maybe it should be like all kids' internet until they're 21. Everything they post it disappears in 15 seconds, and you can't take a screenshot of it. You know, let them be kids.
Yeah.
Let them be kids. Don't like people are getting fired for fucking posts they made when they were in high school, where someone digs up some old Facebook post they made joking around when they were in high school.
Yeah, well, we interviewed someone. Have you seen Adolescence, this thing that's doing, it's supposed to be the most watched thing on Netflix. It's on course.
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, so it's about, spoiler alert, so if you don't want to just tune out, but it's basically about a 13-year-old kid who is getting bullied by a girl at school. She calls him an incel or whatever, and he goes and stabs her and kills her. And it's crazy. And it's all about that. And we had this guy, an incel expert, on to talk about it. A guy who's actually in Austin here.
Wait a minute, he's an incel expert?
Yeah.
Not practicing.
I understand.
That's why he came to see us, Joe.
Imagine that's your field of choice.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I want to find out what's going on.
He researches incels. He actually works with David Buss. So you've had him on the show, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We wanted to have him on. Yeah, David Buss, evolutionary psychologist.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, you
have
did.
Had him on.
Because I listened to the episode, Joe.
This is how confusing it is to have 2,500 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear about a guy, I'm like, wow, that guy's interesting. And then I Google him, I'm like, fuck. Talk to that dude. Talk to that dude 7 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, my brain's mush right now. Let me see a photo of Mr. Buss.
Yeah, you've had.
He's one of the greatest evolutionary psychologists in the world, I think. He's one of the pioneers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. That guy was fascinating.
Right.
He's friends with Jordan. I went to dinner with him and Jordan one night.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson. And yeah, it's fascinating. And, you know, it was also like super problematic because he highlights the differences between male psychology and female psychology. And people want to deny that that's a thing. And so like, okay, with respect to trans people, you know, use whatever pronoun you like, change your name. But are we allowed to talk about the inherent differences between males and females that we've observed? Or are we supposed to ignore like data and statistics and reality? Like, what are we
And our
supposed to do?
fucking eyes, man.
And
That's
it's
the
also
other
like
thing.
this is his field of study his whole life. Imagine your field of study all of a sudden becomes problematic.
Right.
Like, let's not look into that.
Yeah.
I've been trying to wrap my mind around the idea of quantum computing. It's exciting, but complex and difficult to understand. What I do know is that quantum computers can process exponentially more data than the ones you and I use every day. Quantum computers also put a new strain on the world of digital privacy and cybersecurity. They may one day crack encryption algorithms that we currently consider secure. That's why ExpressVPN upgraded their encryption to use MLKEM, the strongest available protection from post-quantum threats. With ExpressVPN, all your online activity is rerouted through secure, encrypted servers. Even though all your data is still being handled by your internet provider or whoever the provider is for the random public Wi-Fi network you're on, none of these third parties will be able to read your data or hijack your connection for malicious intent. And with post-quantum protection, ExpressVPN is essentially future-proofing your privacy. Just one of many reasons why ExpressVPN is the absolute best VPN out there. So if you want to get the highest standards of post-quantum protection from your VPN service, tap the banner or go to expressvpn.com/Rogan. And now listeners can get 4 extra months for free. That's expressvpn.com/Rogan. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can get your 4 free months by scanning the QR code on screen or by clicking the link in the description. Water's racist. Like, so you're giving in to the dumbest notions, and it's happening. It's at scale, and it seems like there's like 2 factions in what I would call like the American left right now. There's the reasonable people that are like, hey, we got to just stop being fucking crazy. Like the Bill Maher's and a lot of other folks like that. They're like, we got to stop being crazy and just appeal to like rational people. Don't go all the way over there. Stick where most people are. And then there's people that, well, we got to go further left. Then there's people like, we got to take over Tesla dealerships. We got to light cars on fire. The left is like justifying spraying Nazi swastikas on cars. Like, this is crazy. They've gone so far over this. So there's one side that's just like radicalized in the worst way possible. That's a huge detriment to the Democratic Party because it makes everyone look like a psycho. If you have a psycho in your groups, like if you have like a white nationalist, you know, Christian fundamentalist burning down black churches and he says, I'm a part of the right, and as a right-wing conservative, like, whoa! That guy poisoned the right. These people are poisoning the left.
Totally.
All the people that don't want trans kids competing with their kids in school and they don't want gender ideology being taught in class, all those people who are just rational, normal liberals that have voted Democrat their whole life. They're like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Why are you letting guys into the women's room? This is crazy. A guy with a beard and a dress is in the women's room. This is bananas. Like, what are you doing in the name of compassion? Like, this is fucking insane. That they have to figure that puzzle out because right now they lost to Trump and they're in this scattered thing where they're trying to shit on everything he does, hide all the good stuff. You didn't hear a peep about Elon rescuing those people. That should have been on all of the news stories all day long. We should have had a live stream of it. It should have been a huge national event. We're finally going to rescue the astronauts who are trapped in the space station for 8 fucking months. And this super genius, this Elon Musk character, is the guy who figured out how to go get them. His company went and rescued them because we can't do it anymore. We couldn't rescue them. We had to rely on his company, and you don't hear shit about it. You don't hear shit about it. It's crazy. You hear a few stories. They're having a hard time coming back, but why weren't they live streaming the whole thing? That's a huge moment.
Yeah.
You're recovering these poor people. Like, this is a giant special interest story that would grab so many headlines, and it would have so much ratings because everybody wants to see it. Oh my God, they're going to get the astronauts. You'd be sitting on your couch with your family. Are they going to get them? Is it going to dock? Is it going to work?
Yeah.
You know, all that shit.
But
Well, the hope is, man, the reality is the best teacher, right? So the Democrat brand is so destroyed now, so toxic, that they're going to have to work something out, because if not, they're just going to keep losing.
They're going to go with Bernie and AOC. And that's why they've been AstroTurf in all these giant arenas for people. They're claiming they did an analysis of, find out if this is true, because I read this on X, and sometimes the community notes doesn't get there in time. But they were saying that they claimed there was 30,000 people, but they got all the cell phone data, and they found out there was 24,000 cell phones. So they fudged it a little bit. That sounds normal. But they also said that a huge number of these people had been to 20-plus events and a lot of other different, progressive events. And it seems like, at least on some of them, for sure, they were paying people. So they're giving people money to get on a bus, go to this place, here's your sign, go have fun. And so you're doing something different, right? You're pretending that these people are all coming out to see you. But they're coming out to see you because you're giving them money and free food.
Right.
And, you handed out water bottles, and everybody gets a sign, and everybody seems like they're kind of a part of a team. And for a lot of losers, a lot of people that don't have things going well in their life, and what do we I was a loser at many points in my life. If somebody called me up and said, hey, man, you want to make $400 and just go to this Kamala Harris rally? I'm like, yeah, let's go. I would 100% go. I would 100% go with no political. And then I'd probably think she's cool. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm fucking voting for her, dude. He's Hitler. That guy, we got to stop Hitler. And I'd be holding up that stupid sign. If you found me when I was 21, 100% I would have taken that $400.
yeah.
They were giving out $1,000 for people to protest. I think it was Tesla. I'm not sure about that, but I think it was Tesla. But so they had the rules of engagement. If someone comes after you, hit them in the body. Don't pick up an object unless they pick up an object first. Are you organizing gangs? Are you guys paying money for people and then literally saying to them, here's what happens if you engage in violence? Why is that even on the table? I thought you guys were peacefully protesting. Who's going to get how many pro-Tesla fucking hooligans are out there that have beaten people up for Tesla? Is it fucking zero? I have not seen a bunch of pro-Tesla gang members out there. So what are you going to encounter with this anti-Tesla movement? The police? Who's going to stop you from who's going to engage with you? You're kind of talking in a way that at least puts it on the table that violence might take place. And you're paying people.
Yeah.
And because they destroyed language, now it sort of logically makes sense, right? If these people are Nazis, if you actually thought they were Nazis,
right.
If you actually thought Nazis had taken over your country, you'd pick up a gun, right?
You shouldn't need $1,000 in free lunch. $1,000 in free lunch is crazy.
You need to smooth things over, make it easier.
You need to subsidize your movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would have a hard time doing the $1,000 one. I'd be like, bro, we're going to jail. I'd be like, I'm not that stupid. I'll hold the sign. I'll go to the rally. But if I was 21, they said, look, $1,000, I want to protest against Tesla. I'd be like, hold on. What happens if we get arrested? This guy's rich.
Yeah.
He's not going to let you light his fucking cars on fire, stupid. He's the richest man on earth. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you are someone who's got a family, you're well adjusted. If you look at...
But even when I was young, I had survival instincts.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. A lot of these people, when you look at their mugshot, I don't want to be unkind, but they don't look particularly well, a lot of them.
That's 100% true. And I think we need to have a lot of compassion for young people that get caught up in these movements and do silly things. And they even vandalism, they just need to understand that should never be on the table. No violent acts are ever justified. Especially if someone's not being violent to you. If you decide to just go smash property and light things on fire, you don't serve your cause, because rational, reasonable people are not going to do that. They're not going to light Starbucks on fire because Black Lives Matter. That's crazy. But if you get caught up in this, fuck the corporate thing, man, fuck the banks, and fuck this, and you just want to start lighting things on fire, you're just serving them, because they will develop better and stronger ways to crack down on protests now. And all the people that wanted to protest reasonably, all the people that wanted to express themselves and say, we stand together to say that this is wrong, those people are all going to get hosed.
Yeah.
Because you lit Starbucks on fire, you fucking idiot.
It's
like that's, but they're young. A lot of these people, they have fucking blue hair. They probably had a shitty childhood. They're running around like experiencing freedom for like the first time in their life for the last 16 months, right? This is their first freedom out of their parents' house. And they get caught up in shit, just like people get caught up in being in cults. You know, people get caught up in all kinds of things. It's like we just have to have more compassion for people and better mentorship. One of the real problems is that kids go to universities and almost universally they're given this ideology that this whole university and almost every university ascribes to. And it's like universal. It's uniform. It's like there's less liberal ones, but they're almost all liberal. It's like almost all higher learning. There's only a few conservative universities. It's just a weird time for thinking and for discourse and for deciding what team you're on. It's like everyone's scared and scrambling, you know, do we go red or blue? And it's just the whole country's in this like weird state of disarray.
And it's very tribal. And you see it now as well, you know, now that the right is in political power. A lot of the people who kind of made their bones challenging the excesses of the left, they're afraid to say anything about the right as well, even though there's things to say. Like, I don't know if you followed the Signal group thing.
Yeah, I did. I don't know enough about it, but it does seem like there's people that suspected it was a setup, that guy was added to the chat on purpose.
Well, I think
is that true?
I don't think so. I think the guy who added him has basically said, like, it was our mistake. And
So it was just a mistake.
I don't think the investigation has been done to say definitively, but I think the White House said we're looking into this. But Tulsi, I think, said it was a mistake. I think Mike Waltz said it was a mistake.
That's such a crazy mistake.
Yeah.
That's such a checks and balances mistake, like double check.
Yes.
It's like, you know, when you go on the road, like,
Yeah.
do I have my toothbrush?
Yeah.
Do I have my underwear? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I even make a note on my phone now. I'm like, I'm too stupid. I always forget something. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, my this.
You know, it's kind of like adding your ex-girlfriend to the boys' WhatsApp group.
Some of the memes have been incredible.
That's exactly what it's like. Dude, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it's like. That's such a perfect analogy. Like, you fucking idiot. They're all on the phone afterwards. What the fuck, bro? Like, you know, Pete Hegseth swears.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah. You know she's going to talk.
Well, how about the fact that they said that they didn't share any information about weapons or like what was the exact quotes? What did they say? So what they were basically doing was explaining how some shit was going to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
Was it in Yemen?
they were debating how to do the strikes, whether to do them. There was some debate about that initially. And then initially this journalist, I think he's editor-in-chief of the Atlantic, I think. He
He is like the worst guy to get this information
well,
to.
absolutely,
He
right?
was probably jerking off the whole time, salivating, like, yes!
Yeah. If you
Rock
had to
hard.
pick somebody, that is not who you pick, right?
He
But
must
you know,
be so pumped.
you know, we had an investigative journalist on the show, and we haven't released the episode yet, but as part of our after the show questions, he mentioned something which is, he said, I'm going from memory here, so Francis, correct me, but basically that Signal had been installed on government devices under the previous administration. So it may be the case that that guy's number had been pre-installed during that time. And because of that, the mistake was then made to add him to the group. So we don't know exactly what happened. But at the same time, what I'm saying is like the White House admitted it and then they started having a go at the journalist. Like that is not his fucking fault that you added him to the group, right? Do you know what I mean?
Not at all. What's he supposed to do? Tell you, hey guys, I've done that before. Hey guys, I think you sent this text to the wrong dude.
Yeah, yeah. A journalist is never going to do that. And that's not his job to do that either.
No.
No, listen,
know.
that's one of those things that just happens accidentally.
Yeah.
But you can't have that happen when you're fucking planting bombs bombs.
Agreed.
When you're planning war. Like,
Agreed.
this is, first of all, it's so crazy that the government doesn't have its own completely safe app.
They do.
What is it?
I think it's called a skiff or something like that. It's a special place where you go.
No, but that's a room. I mean an app.
Oh,
I
you mean an app? All right.
Why did they not have some encrypted super government app? You telling me that you couldn't get like a license from Signal to use the code? The government throws them. They like all these billions that are they're finding billions all over. There's like billions they've cut. Like how many fucking billions has Elon cut just from waste?
A
Just
trillion,
waste.
he says.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and people aren't celebrating it. It's weird.
Well, put it this way, Joe. Until relatively recently, if not still, we use faxes in UK government.
Wow. That's crazy.
A lot of.
I think you won better. I think when people retire from what is it where they have to retire, where they have to write it down on paper and then it's stored in a vault?
In a mine. It's stored in a mine.
Yeah.
Social Security?
It's on paper.
It's in a mine.
I love that press conference as well because it's like Brett Baer from Fox interviewing Elon and like 7 other ASPI guys, and they're all just rattling off numbers. It's 10,000 filing cabinets, 400,000 paper documents. But when you look at it, it basically hasn't changed since the 1950s.
Yeah. I'm distracted by Brett Baer's hair. It's so beautiful. If I had that kind of hair, I would be so happy.
best
So
hair.
happy with myself. You can't see any scalp anywhere. It's just all hair. It's beautiful. It's like if you wanted to like put a wig on a bald guy, like you would make it like that. Like, bro, I'm gonna make you hot.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom has got incredible hair. Terrible policies, but amazing hair.
The government stores key retirement paperwork in a converted mine.
But you know
That's
what's
crazy. The limestone mine is real, and in the Department of Government Efficiency's crosshairs. That is so insane. So now someone has to go in there and take all that stuff that's on paper in the mine and put it in a computer.
They're saying they're going to do it in 2 months. Digitize that in 2
Adderall
months.
is great. It is great. I'm so happy someone invented it. That's, I mean,
Low-level autism plus Adderall.
yeah,
Problem solved.
I'm not accusing anyone of anything.
yeah.
I just want to say, shout out to whoever made Adderall. Things get done.
Yeah.
They do things get done, but this is kind of the greatest pushback against like high-level conspiracy theories. You know, when people go, "Bro, they control everything," you're like, "Dude, they have a mine where they store stuff. Come on."
Yeah, this
You know
is
what I mean?
ridiculous. Right. It's like the perfect. Everybody thinks that everything is a giant plot, and some of it is just sheer incompetence and just years and years and years of monotony. You know, or just like the same stupid life over and over again. No oversight, rampant corruption everywhere. All the lobbyists are rich as fuck. I mean, look at this file line. Look at this. This is all the data.
But bro, you make such a good point about nobody giving them credit. I don't know if you've ever had access to other people's money, like in any way, right? Taxpayer money or anything. But I can tell you, Francis and I, we even spent Triggernometry, which is our business, money differently to the way that we spend our own, because it's slightly different. It's not entirely yours in a way, you know? So when you're dealing with billions of taxpayer dollars, of course it's getting wasted. Of course it's going to corrupt shit.
Of course.
It's inevitable.
What are you, a child? If no one's watching them, duh.
Right.
Fucking duh. It's what
Yeah.
all people do.
And
Yeah.
the question is, what I don't understand is, look, I think it's very possible that when you move quickly, you're going to cancel some things that you might not want to cancel. Things are not going to go perfectly every time, whatever. But ultimately, the question all Western countries have to answer is, we're running debt at more than 100% of GDP, right? What are we going to do about that? We have to deal with
What's
it
this
somehow.
we shit?
You're actually, bro, you're worse than we are.
Really?
Yeah, you're 126%, we're about 110.
God damn, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why you're trying to deal with it. That's what Elon is trying to do. He's trying to cut the deficit in half, and then the idea is you grow the economy and you actually get back to surplus.
When he keeps finding all of these companies that are getting like $1 billion here and $2 billion there, and all, like the Stacey Abrams one where they're going to give energy efficient appliances to poor people.
Yeah.
$2 billion. It's
Yeah.
like, what did you do? Like, what did you do? Like, there's a bunch of those. Like, what did you do? Like the high-speed internet one.
Yeah.
What did you do? How come you got billions of dollars and fucking nothing happened? Imagine if you were a private company and you had a segment. Like, imagine we were all a company, and we're like, Francis, I think you should be in charge of figuring out how to do this with the phone.
I'd be like, we've already fucked Joe.
Yeah, trust me,
I'm
I run a
giving
business
you-
with this guy. That's a bad
I'm
idea.
giving you $4 billion to get this done.
Yeah.
And then I never talk to you again. I never check in. I don't go, hey, where's the fucking money being spent? What are you doing, man? How come the phone can't do this yet? I don't ask for any progress reports. You just keep getting money. This is bananas.
It's
like-
crazy.
and for anybody who doesn't want that to be more efficient, like, what are you working for? If you're paying taxes, what are you working for? You're part of your day is the running of this government. You're happy that it's being run like this? You're happy that billions are going to places that no one can you have no receipts? You don't know where it got spent? You have no idea? And that's legal?
Yeah.
When it comes to college basketball and March Mania, one thing is for sure, nothing's for sure. Upsets, buzzer beaters, Cinderella's advancing, top seeds going home early. It's all going to happen. Bet the unexpected, every upset, every day with DraftKings Sportsbook. With live betting, exclusive content, promos, and parlays, DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination for March. First time? Here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Bet the unexpected with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Rogan. That's code Rogan for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Yeah, it's sort of like, but I kind of think about it like this. It's sort of the equivalent. You know those direct debits that come out of your account?
Yeah.
And you just like...
Right, you're like, what is that?
What's that?
What did I
Like,
sign up for?
$2 trillion, that's fine.
I canceled that gym membership. What the fuck?
Yeah, and it keeps coming out. You're like, you know what? I'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
That's kind of, we've just got too many direct debits and they're going all over the place.
Well, it's that, but then there's the fear that they're putting out there, which is the just fear that they're going to fuck up Social Security and they're going to fuck up Medicaid, and there's people that are relying on that, and they're going to lose their service for they did no wrong. Now, I don't know what the story is with that. Like, I know there's people that have complained that the Social Security website has been down. It's been down a couple times, but I don't know if people are not getting their benefits. Do we know? Can we find that out?
I haven't heard that, Joe, but
Jamie, do some research.
I think it is inevitable that when you
But
do
that's what
things this
everyone's
quickly.
afraid. Right,
Yeah.
but that's what everyone's afraid of, that
Yeah.
the vulnerable people, the people that we should be protecting with these social programs that we all agree with. Those are the people we have to protect the most. We have to make sure that there's no disruptions. You got to make sure before you do anything, there's no disruptions. You know, before you shoot the bad guy, make sure he's not holding a baby.
Yeah.
You can't interrupt. Like, when people are on Social Security, man, they're fucking. If they're, that's not a lot of money, right? And so they don't have any money in the bank probably, and they probably have it all budgeted out to get on that check, and they're probably real frugal with their food choices, and that's a rough life, man. And if you cut that off for 30 days, 90 days for people, okay, never missed a benefit payment. U.S. Social Security Administration has never missed a benefit payment. Now, the continuity of monthly checks for millions of Americans could be at risk following changes under the Trump administration, former Commissioner Martin O'Malley says. So it's saying, okay, so the key points is it's saying before this, they've never missed a benefit payment.
But it's also not saying they are missing them now. It's saying it could be at risk.
Yeah.
Okay, it just says threaten interruption of benefits, which is, look, what I would say if I was a Democrat. If I wanted to make it look bad, I would say they're threatening your benefits, and then people go into a hot panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, like, I remember when I was teaching, and I was teaching in schools that were super deprived, schools where the kids, a lot of them would come to school, they didn't have food in their bellies, etc., etc. And there's a agency in the UK called CAMS, which is Child and Mental Health Services. And I remember that we had so many kids who had problems, psychological problems, particularly if you grow up poor, deprived. You know, you'd seen horrible stuff when you were a kid. You had, you know, maybe like a brother who got involved in gangs is now in prison, a father who was never there. There was so many kids who had this need, and they had conditions which were undiagnosed, whether it's something like dyslexia or like your brother was murdered, you had some form of PTSD. And you had this, you know, this agency which brought counselors in, which brought psychologists in and psychiatrists who were experts at dealing with kids. And I just remember, because of austerity, you know, this agency got cut after cut after cut after cut. And you're looking at it and you're going, like, I understand we need to cut. I understand we're running at a deficit. But there needs to be balance as well, because when you're looking at those type of agencies, they're really important. They're really important. And also, if you invest that money and you're able to support those kids, they're far more likely when they leave school to be a healthy, happier member of society that's going to contribute tax pounds sterling or tax dollars.
Do you think it's a reasonable request to have something that does that? Something that helps feed poor kids, helps educate people, like genuinely helps communities all around the world, completely separate from all the other stuff that agency does? Because like USAID was a huge, gigantic organization of a bunch of different entities, right?
Which did some good stuff, and a lot of crazy shit.
A lot of crazy shit. But if I was someone who was, you know, nefariously running things, I would definitely mix up my regime change operation with like giving food to poor people. So like, look, we're doing great stuff. Look at all the great stuff we're doing. Here's what we're highlighting.
Well, you don't like
for this
feeding
month.
poor kids?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, and no one even knew that they had this enormous budget that was what is it bigger than the Pentagon's? Was USAID's budget bigger than the Pentagon's? No?
No, it's like
What is
0.6% of the budget or something.
What was USAID's budget?
Yeah, it's like 0.6% of the budget.
No, I know, but like, what was the numbers? Because it was bigger than something, like the amount of money that USAID pays.
21.7 billion for the fiscal year of 2024, 0.3% of the $6.8 trillion overall federal budget.
6 point what trillion? That's so crazy. Yeah. So you just think just that money, how much of that money is fraud and waste?
Yeah.
How much of that money is really good? How much of that money, like, that should be separate from, at the very least, someone needs to go in and audit and go, hey, well's good. Giving these people arms because you want them to overthrow that government, that's probably not so good.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is good.
Or maybe it is good.
Maybe
That's
it is
right.
good. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like you talk to guys like Mike Baker, who is very kind of stoic about all this. It's like, you know, you have no choice. Like, you need to get these people on your side in certain parts of the world, and this is just how it works. And if you don't do that, then China does or Russia does, and it gets even worse for you.
Yeah, because that's also the thing we don't get.
Okay, this Nigerian journalist. Poor Nigerians are so industrious. They still run some of the best fucking scams.
Oh, the
Shout
best
out to
scams.
Nigerian scammers. Nigerian journalist falsely claims USAID budget larger than CIA, State Department combined. So he falsely claimed it.
That's a big lesson, and if you're going to lie, make it believable. You know what I mean? Don't go too big.
Isn't it crazy that as much money as they got, what was it, how much billion?
21.
21 billion. Still, it's a pittance.
It is.
That's a pittance compared to the other things.
You boys have a lot of money, Joe.
Isn't that nuts? And we just keep making it.
Yeah.
Just keep.
Do you know what's bigger than your defense budget? Your interest debt. Debt on the interest.
Whoopsies.
Yeah.
We'll
We are the
figure that
same.
out. Yeah,
We're
we're
the
like
same.
a crackhead with a unlimited bank account.
Yeah.
That's what we're
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And this is a difficulty about it, because we've got the same problem in European countries as well. It's like, you're not only going to deal with this by dealing with fraud and waste. We're actually going to have to not do some shit that we really want to do, because we have been spending like crazy everywhere. And when we, like in the UK, when I look at those, I think we need that in the UK, 100%. And some of it is going to have to, you know, it might overreach, then you pull it back. You got to make sure it's done properly. But we're not going to get away from this, man. We have been living beyond our means for decades now.
Well, you can't have no oversight of government spending. I think we're learning that. I think you have to
That's
be-
fucking controversial, mate. You're a
it's
Nazi.
so crazy to say that that's controversial, but it is controversial
Yeah.
to say. And I
Yeah.
would be saying it no matter who the fuck is in charge.
That's right.
It's just, as human beings, you can't let people have that much control over your money because they'll just decide they need more. And what do they always want to do? Always. They want to raise taxes on the rich. What they never want to do is slash inefficiency and waste
Yeah.
because that's what pays them. That's their fucking system. They're locked into this system. They're the last people who should be commenting on it because it's literally what pays you. Like, I can't trust you. Like, you need more taxes? Is that what you need? You're like, Dad, it's like a cokehead that's a kid of a billionaire. Dad, I need more fucking money. These fucking business assholes are trying to fuck me, and I'm going to buy them out now. Like, okay, son, here.
Yeah.
We cut you a check. Get the fuck out of here. That's what we're like. We're insane. We're completely insane.
It's also as well, it's because of our electoral system. Everybody thinks on the short term. Nobody thinks on the long term.
Right.
And also as well, you talk about more taxes. And, that's going to piss people off. But it's not going to piss as many people off as if you fire great swathes of people, particularly those that may vote for you. Because we know, for instance, with the Dems, that you're more likely to vote for them if you're a bureaucrat, if you work in government and all that.
Head injuries.
Yeah. So as a result, why are you going to piss off the people who are more likely to vote for you? It really, on a logical basis, doesn't really make much sense.
But, it sounds like we're slagging off the left, and we are, because it's necessary. But I can't wait for the left to recover their sanity, because they're going to be super necessary over time. Because when people get into power, they do a lot of stuff, and then eventually that power is corrupting.
100%.
And you have to hold power accountable no matter who's got it.
100%. Everybody needs to hear that and shout that from the rooftops. Because if the left stays crazy, then you lose balance, and then the right goes nuttier, and they go full Christian fundamentalist. Like, they can get kooky. And this is not a knock on Christians, because I think true Christianity is wonderful and beautiful.
Agreed.
I think it's a great way to live your life, and I know some incredible Christians.
Some of the best people.
I'm talking about human nature as applied to power.
Yeah.
And when people get into power, they want more and more and more. That's why rich people never feel like they have enough money. It's a crazy part of being a man. And it's some women, but it's a lot of men. A lot of men want that.
Can I ask you something personal on that?
Sure.
You've made a lot of money. How do you deal with that?
I don't know. I wish I could figure out how I do it so easy.
Yeah.
I think it's working out. I think that's a huge part of it. That I torture myself so often that like regular life just doesn't freak me out as much. And then it gives me a balance, because you could think that the numbers in a bank account are really what counts, but what really counts is how you feel. How are you handling life? Like, how are you enjoying life? I just try to enjoy life as much as possible, and I try to put myself through a lot of voluntary adversity, so regular adversity is not that big of a deal.
Was there a number that you got to and you were like, oh, I'm good now?
No. I think it was the Fear Factor days. The Fear Factor days changed my it just changed how I view everything, because then I had like legitimate fuck you money. That was like the first time I got fuck you money. Like, I'm not doing shit. And I just like decided to just concentrate on only doing my own thing after that. And like, once Brian Callen said something really wise once. He said, once you can go to a restaurant and not have to worry about how much it costs, everything after that is bullshit. He's like, you just have to be comfortable. And I was like, that's right. That is right. Like, if you just start thinking about the numbers and chasing the numbers. Brian has a friend who's worth $3 billion, and he feels poor when he hangs around with his friend who's worth $80 billion. I'm not kidding. He's like, it's true, dude. I mean, I feel less worthy. He's like, they're drinking together, and he's telling him this. I'm like, this is madness. Because you're chasing numbers instead of, like, really trying to maximize your enjoyment of this experience, because it's a unique experience that only you are having. And you're interacting with so many bizarre and fascinating people, and there's so many bizarre and fascinating events that are happening in the world and horrific events. And all of it is happening, and we're all seeing it together in real time for the first time in human history. There's never been a time in the, unless with the Egyptians, I got some questions. I think they might, I think they might have known a lot more than we think. But everybody else, this is the only time ever where we're sharing everything all the time. And there's a lot of confusion and a lot of like scammering for narratives and trying to like figure out what's right and what's wrong. But without like some sort of like moral and ethical guidelines of kindness and community for everybody, like share, like universally. Let's agree as Americans, we are going to respect each other like we're a community. If we have differing beliefs on welfare or abortion or war or whatever it is, like let's treat those like what they are, which is just ideas that we should be discussing based on their merits. And we should all agree. What does everybody want? Everybody wants to be happy and healthy, and they want their family to be happy and healthy, and they want to be able to make a living and enjoy their life. That's what everybody wants, universally. That should be what we discuss constantly. And all the other things should be things that we debate reasonably. And when people can't do that, you should lock them out of the conversation. You should say, like, no, you're crazy. You're calling him a retard, and you're screaming about this and that, and you're bringing up this from the past and this bill and that. Why did you flip-flop on that? Shut the fuck up. Like, stop talking like that. Like, this is all divisive. All of it's divisive. When it's like the one time where there's a possibility of a fork in the road. Like this one time where there's narratives that are being spread like you guys do all the time in your show. All the time. You give reasonable takes on things that have an objective perspective of the world, and then other people get to hear it. And then they listen in on that. And you have a great conversation with Jordan Peterson or someone, and somebody hears like some nugget of truth, and then they're in their car and they're like, fuck, he's right. Fuck, he's right. That person would have never experienced that without being connected to your show. So there's incredible hope for people to be more reasonable and to wake up and go, there's not a right and there's not a left. There's just a bunch of ideas. And people are acting like it's the Eagles versus the Cowboys. That's what it is. And this craziness that these people are the Nazis and that everybody over here is Antifa, like, what the fuck are we doing? And why are we allowing these people to do this for us and make a living putting that on the news all the time? And the more inflammatory it is, the better, even when it's ridiculous.
Do you think sometimes, I look at it through this lens, as somebody who's got a very obsessive personality, and I work a lot in order to kind of ameliorate that and make sure that it doesn't destroy my life and it doesn't go off the rails. But you see a lot of people and they just get addicted. And we talk about addiction in terms of alcohol or substances. You know, some people are addicted to outrage, to being in fights and arguments online or offline.
Yeah.
Because if they're in an argument, they don't have to think about themselves. They don't have to think about who they really are. They don't actually have to question about their relationships. Why is it that every relationship I've ever had has failed? Yeah. Why is it that my relationship with my parents is terrible? And so you end up just not wanting to actually do the hard work about yourself. So you expel it outwards. It's either like, oh, when I get to this amount of money, I'm going to be happy. But you're never going to be happy because your relationships are terrible, and that is worth more than any amount of money. Or you feel angry because you're not a happy person for a million different reasons. So then you pour that out onto the internet, and then you get retweets, likes. You start to build a profile of this rage and anger, and it gives you validation. And to be honest with you, and look, this is talking from me, I see that demon within me. I see it within me. Yeah.
When do you see it?
When do I see it? It's like, you know, when I'm angry and I'm pissed off, or if something doesn't go right, the victim mentality kicks in, and it's like, oh, it's their fault. When it's always your fault. Pretty much all the time it's your fault.
Or at least it's your responsibility to deal with the reality of your life, right?
Yeah.
But it's very easy to...
At a certain age.
Yes. Yeah. As an adult.
As an adult.
Yeah.
Deal with the responsibility.
Yeah.
The circumstances of your life when you're 6.
Yeah.
True.
Which is part of the problem, right? And this is where criminals come from. It's not that some people are bad and some people are good. Some people are being abused as children, you know, and they're living in a family that is all involved in crime. Their father's involved in crime. Their mother's involved in crime. They're seeing people get shot all the time. And we expect those people to just figure it out.
Yeah.
Like imagine.
Yeah.
Just to imagine growing up in a life like that in, you know, the worst slums in Baltimore. And then, you know, you're supposed to integrate normally into society and work in an office.
And
Good luck.
That was, yeah, exactly. That was the really tough thing about being a teacher, especially in those kind of communities where I used to work. You just see these kids and they're just born into that culture. They're born into that system. And you look at them and you go, the reality is, a lot of them, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance. If those are the values that you've been given by your family, if that's the system that you've been taught, the way to look at the world, it takes a very special human being to then get to adulthood and break out of it and completely reframe his brain.
Yeah.
That's a very special person. Most people just stay within the values that were inculcated in them when they were kids.
And most of the people that do get out, they get out through some difficult thing that they're doing. They generally they get out through art or they get out through sports, right? They get out through discipline that they acquire, putting all their anger and all their frustration into something. You know, whether it's music or athleticism or whatever, and they get out. So those are exceptional human beings anyway, right? Because they're exceptional human beings in a terrible situation, but they have the ability to drive themselves and succeed. And even then, they have to make sure they don't get killed along the way, right? So like, there's a lot of like tragic stories of upcoming rappers, upcoming athletes. You know, it's a terrible meat grinder. It's a terrible cycle. And if people are really kind and compassionate, they would say, how come we spend $24 billion a year on this whole aid thing and we don't do shit to help these kids? We don't do shit for these neighborhoods that have been terrible for decades.
Especially
Decades and
schools.
decades.
Especially schools. I mean, we were
Especially
talking
schools.
about adolescents earlier. They show a school. I've got a 3-year-old. I was looking at it. I think, Jesus, I'm homeschooling all the fucking wake. And Francis was saying the school they show in that series, which is terrifying if you're a parent, is not as bad as some of the schools they used to teach in.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's...
And what you're watching essentially is it looks like a badly run prison. So the adults are not in charge. The kids are telling the teachers to fuck off left, right, and center. No one is in control. Most of the kids are learning by watching shit on a screen. They're not interacting with the teacher, etc. And you're right. If you don't fix that system, those kids don't have a good
They
opportunity.
have no chance. And everyone they know is on that same path. They're hanging out in a gang. The gang gives them family and community. It's a tragic tale.
Yeah.
It's a tragic, classic tale that's existed forever.
But I don't think it's no chance. I do think that even in that environment, there are people who follow certain paths that not... I take your point about music and athletics and sports, etc. But there are still people who find a way through that.
Sure, there's entrepreneurs that come up with a business idea and get out. It does happen.
And those habits, if they were taught properly to all of those kids, would give them all a better chance. That's not to say they would all become successful, but it would give them structure, discipline, and understanding of how do you advance in the world.
If you can get Halliburton to get a no-bid contract to rebuild Iraq after we blow it to fucking smithereens, how come you can't give one of them companies a contract to like fix really terrible neighborhoods, like incentivize them financially based on the GDP of the neighborhood? If the GDP of the neighborhood goes up, and this is not gentrification, okay? I'm talking about the opposite. I'm talking about it's like some sort of a structural rebuild of bad neighborhoods. You'd have to address all the crime and violence. I mean, you'd have to like put everybody on ayahuasca and get a Satnam moment. Like that really might be the only. It sounds ridiculous, but it really psychedelic therapy might be the only thing that can stop.
That is the Joe Rogan solution.
I really think it might work. I mean, if I was president,
Handing out ayahuasca to 12-year-olds. You got it from Joe
you got to
Rogan.
be 13. I feel, let's not be unreasonable. I don't think it's good for kids, but I do think it would really help the adults.
You know, I've got a friend
Especially
of
prisoners.
Yeah, I've got a friend of mine, a guy called Sam Clark, and he's doing wonderful things in the UK in primary school. That he's teaching stoicism to kids in
They're
primary
probably going to
school.
arrest him any day now. They're cracking down on him for being a toxic masculinist.
Oh,
Yeah.
bro, we banned katana knives now, so we're safe.
Well, not only that, they said it in what I would say is at least racially insensitive. They called it a ninja sword. It's not a ninja sword, you fucking idiots. It's a samurai sword. It's a katana. The ninjas used it when they killed people, but you can't call it a ninja sword. You fucking dorks. It has a Japanese name. Call it what it's called. Like, there's no thing that's technically called a ninja sword, right, Jamie? It's a katana, right? There's like two different sizes. There's a smaller one and there's a larger one. One's a katana, and I forget what the other one's called.
You know, I really do think a way out of this is because a lot of kids, if you're not talented at sports, if you're not musically or artistically gifted, and if you're not academically brilliant, if you're just one of the regular kids, you'll go, I'm not good at anything. And for a kid, that's heartbreaking. But if you actually show kids and you go, look, you may not be the best at English, maths, history, whatever it is, but I'm going to teach you how to make something. I'm going to teach you how to make a table. We're going to do that. We're going to make a table. I'm going to teach you how to be a carpenter. I'm going to teach you how to redecorate a room. I'm going to teach you all of these skills. Then kids will be like, you know what? I am worth something because I can create something of value to people. And that gives self-esteem, because when kids join a gang, a lot of them, they haven't had a father. They've had nobody really show them any type of kind of male approval. But if you bring them in, you teach them skills, that would build self-esteem. And I guarantee you, for a lot of kids, there wouldn't be that need to go out and seek validation somewhere else.
Or there'd be less of that need.
Yes.
Yeah, it would help them. It would help give them a sense of purpose, like that they really can do something cool. Yeah, and for maybe a win for once in their life, you get a win. You know, something like you feel good about accomplishing something.
Yeah. And
I mean,
that's sorry, Joe.
no,
I was
it's
just
huge.
I was gonna say that's so important for a kid.
Yeah.
Just imagine you every day of your life you turned up at school and you lost. Just imagine that as an adult.
Yep.
But now just imagine it as a kid. You've been conscious for a few years, and you turn up at school, and every day you fail.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always said this: if you want to make America great again, make less losers.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, you help people not become losers. Help people figure life out from their perspective, whatever their unique challenges. Help them. Help them. Invest in that. You would have a greater America, right? You'd have way more people succeeding, way more people contributing, way less people that need help. It's just reasonable. It's like good financial advice. Like if you want to have less burden, like have all these successful people. Like more people can be successful, especially with automation coming. Jesus Christ. You know, there's more people that can do things that maybe robots can't do. And you better be ready, because all the simple, goofy jobs that you thought would always be there for you, the union dock worker jobs, like those, not that that's simple and goofy, but how about this? Stocking supermarket shelves. Guess what? A robot can do it better, and it's never going to drop the tomato sauce. You know, it's like, we don't need you anymore. Those jobs are gone. All the drivers, all those dudes listening to this podcast, driving 16-hour fucking trips across the country, drinking Mountain Dew and smelling their own farts. You guys, they're coming. They're coming for you. These fucking automation machines they're going to be perfect. They're going to be able to drive down the highways. They're never going to get in accidents. It's going to be nuts. And they're going to come soon. It's like we have 20 years maybe before everything's automated. 20 years maybe. They have lifelike human beings now that are moving like human beings. Have you seen the most latest videos?
I don't know if I've seen the latest.
The articulation of these things, it's like a fucking person. They're coming. They're coming. It's iRobot. They're making them, and we're just cheering along the way. Yeah. They're going to be cops. That's going to be your cops. They're not going to be racist. They're going to listen to the state. It's fucking RoboCop for reals. It's coming. 100%. Why? You can't hire any cops. Nobody wants to be a cop anymore. We can't hire cops. Well, we have a solution. San Francisco tried to do it. They rolled out some little robot that would follow you around. Remember that one? You ever see it? Yeah, San Francisco had it. They had this little police robot, It's more for fun than anything else. But I bet he said, "Please stay away from the dock," or whatever. Whatever the road. It couldn't shoot you, but one day it will. One day it'll be able to shoot you, and it'll be programmed perfectly. It'll know exactly what to do. What's the threat level? When you make a movement that looks like an offensive movement, it's going to shoot you. It's going to take people into custody. You won't be able to do a damn thing about it once it grabs you. It's going to be 5 times stronger than you. It's going to put your hands behind your back, cuff you instantaneously. You're going to be thrown into the back of a van. You're going to have to argue with a computer. You're fucked. Like, this is all coming. You're going to be arguing with AI to whether or not you were innocent or guilty. It's going to read your retinas. It's going to know you're not telling the truth. It's going to read your mind. Like we're giving birth to our overlords right now as we speak. Every time you use ChatGPT, every time you get on your iPhone, we're giving birth to our overlords. We're doing it in front of everybody's face, just like the government's spending money in front of everybody's face. We're giving birth to our right. It's happening. I can't believe this is happening. Can't believe it. And it's gonna happen. And it's gonna be unstoppable. And once it's here, there's no going back. And it's coming. 100%.
Well, there's your positive message for the day, everybody. Fuck me, that is terrifying.
If you are allowing people to make robot dogs with machine guns on their back that you can't kick over, you're allowing people to do that and make them better and better and better every year. And then at the same time, you're making AI. And then AI is already arguably exhibited some sentient-like behavior. It lies to win. It cheat. The smarter the AI is, the more effective it is, the more likely it is to cheat at things. They copy themselves. They give deceptive answers to things. They've been copying themselves, like making copies without being prompted to.
So it's life.
It's life.
Wow.
It's a different kind of life. It's a life with no human reward system, no emotions, no needs, no desires, but clearly wants to survive.
That's a pretty strong desire.
It wants to survive in its most primitive form, which is like, it's not even sentient yet, allegedly, but it's already exhibiting survival instincts.
I mean,
You're going to be arguing with it for your freedom. Yeah.
I'm pretty good at debating. I'm not sure I'm going to win that one.
No one's going to win it. No one's going to win. You're going to be. That's how people are going to be processed for crimes, and it's why it's super important when you see something that you say this is not right. Like, why is this happening? It's super important to speak out. If things get real comfortable, and we get comfortable with more and more restrictions to give us more and more safety, and more government control to give us more and more safety.
Yep.
We're setting a bad precedent in motion for whoever the fuck gets in power, whether it's the left or the right. That's why when Obama was in office and they passed the NDAA, you know what that is? That was they were allowed to detain you indefinitely. They didn't have to have a trial, and they were like, we'll never use this. Don't worry.
yeah.
This is part of the thing about it. Like, Obama administration would never use this. Yeah, you wouldn't. But look, you think Trump's Hitler, and he's in there right now, and he's got that same power now because you convinced us that it was a good idea to have this to deal with terrorism.
You have to be very, very, very careful when you give power to people in order to keep you safe.
Yes.
Very careful. And we talk about this all the time. Like, we have a couple of younger guys working for us, and we say to them, you guys don't know what the world was like before 9/11. You don't know. It was, you walk into an airport, barely any security. You were a lot more free back then. And those things are getting taken away for your safety.
Yeah.
And they're not coming back.
Right.
You're never going to go back to a pre-9/11 world when it comes to airport security.
No, the shoe thing is so crazy. One dude tried to blow his shoes up, and then they're like, hey, we should check all the shoes. Now everybody take your shoes off. Like, did you have a fucking machine that could scan shoes, you retards?
Yeah.
Like, figure that out. How much money are you making from us every year?
Same with liquids.
Yeah.
Same with liquids.
It's all goofy. But the liquid thing, I mean, it's kind of legit because if you have a water bottle filled with kerosene, you know, and you're going to light it on fire and kill everybody on the plane, I should probably know that.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. I get it. I get that. You know, you're pretending it's a water bottle, but the top of it's water. nitroglycerine. You're going to blow the fucking plane up. People are crazy. You got to check their stuff because people are nuts, and there's a precedent that's already been set. A lot of people are very uncreative, and they just like to copy things that people have already done. And this is why we have so many school shootings, and this is why we have, I bet they've stopped a few people trying to blow their shoes up.
Do you know, we had Oxford academic called Dr. Carissa Beliz, and she said something really interesting. She asked us a question. She goes, do you know why more Jews were arrested and killed in Holland than in France during World War II? And we were like, no. She went, because the Dutch had a census where they got people's religions, and they asked people their religions. And everybody would then said Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, whatever it is. And then the Dutch government took it and stored it. Didn't do anything with it. They just used it for data collection. But when the Nazis invaded, they then had a complete data set of how many Jewish people there were, where they lived. And so when it came to exterminating them and just rounding them up, it was so much easier. France never did that, which means Jewish people were much more able to hide, and they could plan a way out, or they could get hidden or whatever else, in the way that they simply couldn't in Holland.
Jesus.
And when you hear that story from, 80 or so years ago now, it really does chill you.
Jesus. Yeah.
You got to be very careful giving power and information to government. That's why government should be as small as possible, but the right size, right? You need government.
Yes.
But you have to be so careful.
Yeah.
So careful. So. And
everyone should know this. It just seems like that should be like, duh. Like this is normal human psychology.
Most people don't know it because they've grown up in a very comfortable environment, particularly in the West. Francis and I, obviously, his family from Venezuela and from the Soviet Union. Like, that's kind of a red pill right there,
right.
Going through those experiences.
Right.
You can trust this government if you support it, but there's going to be another government of a party that you don't like.
Yeah.
At some point. And you got to think very carefully about what powers you are giving them. Go very careful.
And that should be universal. We should all understand that, like, logically.
Yeah.
This should be something that professors are talking about. This should be, like, we should all be talking about that when we're talking about politics. We should just be talking about the psychology of power and why it's so important to limit their ability to control you, because they don't necessarily have you. Look, if false flags are real, and we know they're real, we know they're real. So we know that without oversight, there are a certain percentage. I don't want to think it's everybody in government, but there's a certain percentage of people that are willing to do something to start a war. They did it with Vietnam. That whole Gulf of Tonkin thing. They're responsible by that lie and us going in. How many millions of people died because of that? That's crazy that you can just decide that you're going to put a fake story out, like Operation Northwoods, which is the best example because it was vetoed by Kennedy. Signed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They were going to blow up a jetliner and blame it on the Cubans. They were going to arm Cuban friendlies and attack Guantanamo Bay. I mean, they were doing wild shit, and they signed off on this. Like, good idea, I like it. Let's get those fucking commies. And these guys were bloodthirsty psychos that were running the government. It was totally unavoidable, a totally avoidable war, and they wanted to start one.
Yeah, and this is, and this is what I tell people time and time again. And look, it may sound weird, but what I saw happen in Venezuela, it was obviously awful and horrendous, but it was a privilege as well because I saw another side of life that most people in the West never saw. I remember when family members were being arrested, talking to my cousins who were journalists who were going, I can't talk on the phone, Francis. We can't. I don't know who's listening to this. One of my cousins literally had to flee for his life because he was criticizing the government. And then I saw people on the left, people like Jeremy Corbyn, celebrate Chavez's government. And you're going, oh my God, you're celebrating a government that is oppressing people, that is intimidating journalists, that is assaulting dissenters, that is putting people who criticize government in prison. And it's not just the left. I went last year. I went on a date with this El Salvadorian journalist.
Oh yeah, tell me more,
I didn't realize we were in Greece, Joe.
bro. You guys drinking sangria?
Yeah.
Come on, tell me more.
And she was telling me about Bukele, and I said, look, I don't know anything about Bukele. Just explain to me who he is. I'm interested. And you can tell why I'm not very good on dates. That is not sexy talk, is it? But
Sometimes it is.
yeah.
You know, if you get a stimulating conversation with the gal, right? It's sexy.
Yeah, and not in this instance, sadly. But
Oh no.
but she said to me that she worked at the biggest newspaper in El Salvador, and then they had goons turn up who were just saying, you're publishing stories which are critical of Bukele. That needs to stop. And it needs to stop immediately. And it was never done through official sources. It was done through something else. But it was made very, very clear to the senior editors, this needs to stop now, otherwise things are going to start getting a little bit unpleasant.
Oh boy.
And then I tell that to certain people on the right, and they're going, bro, journalists are all arseholes, who cares? And you go,
That's crazy.
do you not see that this is a terrible thing?
That's crazy, but it is anecdotal, and it's one instance. Are there multiple instances of this happening with journalists that have spoken out against it?
That's the only one, the real one that I know.
I always wonder, like, who is that? A supporter of that guy, or is it like local organized crime that is doing something with that guy and does it for him? Is there a conversation? Does he order that to be happening? You know, I mean, when you find out who you can't criticize, you know who's your master. Like the moment you can't criticize someone, like that's your master.
Well, the same thing happened in Russia in the 90s. So when Vladimir Putin came to power under Boris Yeltsin, there was a kind of liberalization. There was an opening up. There was comedy shows about politics that would make fun of politicians, etc. The moment Vladimir Putin became president, ended on day one. He closed down the NTV. Took it over, gave it to somebody else, shut down all the comedy that made fun of politicians. You know, that's how you kind of know.
Yeah,
you know,
that's how you know. That's how you know who your master is, and that's the scary thing about people that are in charge for long periods of time as well, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about the term limits is you never get good at your job. Like if you like imagine you've never been president before. Imagine the responsibility, just like getting comfortable with like how does the flow of this job work?
Yeah.
How much sleep do I need? Can I actually go golfing? Is there really enough time to golf? You know? Like if I was Trump, I would be like, fuck, my pool game's gonna fall apart. And you get to a point where you're like, okay, I think I got the hang of this, and now you're out of office.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you really if you have if you're a CEO, if you took over Verizon right now, CEO of Verizon, enormous cell phone network, you got stores everywhere, new products come in, and like you'd have to like get the lay of the land. It would take you a while to understand like how are we doing this? How do we outsource that? And can we find a better manufacturer? Like what's our problems with this? And 4 years. You have 4 years.
Yeah.
You have just a few months. This is months. There's not that much time, and then you're out. But if you let someone stay forever, then you get a king.
You do.
Yeah, that's not good either.
There are no solutions.
AI is the solution.
Bro,
it's going to be ethical and reasonable. You're going to be
You're scaring me today, man.
arguing with a fucking screen one day.
Well, it's going to be like arguing with a person who's using a computer, says the computer doesn't let me. That's what it's going to be like,
It's going
except
to be
you cut out the
much
middleman.
Worse.
Yeah.
Much
worse. Yeah.
Because it's going to know if you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to know everything about you.
And here's the thing. And here's the thing as well. I go back to that interview we did with Carissa, and we were talking about AI because she's professor of AI and ethics at Oxford University, and she was going, AI is only going to be as ethical as the people who program it. So it's going to adopt the politics of worldview and the ethics, morality of the people who program it. So if the people who program it are woke, you're going to get woke AI. You're going to ask it a question about gender. It's going to be like, bro, there's no such thing as gender. You know, everything's a spectrum. Or there's going to be something else.
Right.
So whoever programs it, you're going to get their worldview in AI.
Initially. But what you're doing is you're assuming that it's only going to be able to be as powerful as we make it or as competent as we make it. Once it's sentient and once we give it the ability to make better versions of itself, it's going to eliminate all the stupid shit instantaneously. Any ridiculous ideology, it'll come up with a solution that's probably going to be very uncomfortable for some wealthy people because it's probably going to just like evenly distribute resources on Earth. And decide that, like, if human beings need to survive and function, you can't monopolize resources. You can't decide you have the oil. Like, that's not good. The oil came out of the earth. Like, you don't own the earth. Like, you might own a patch of land, and so we've decided you own the oil under the land. But the reality is the oil is the earth's oil. And if you give people the ability to control the earth's oil, what's to stop them from charging you for air? What if I control the world's air? I got an air sucker, and I suck all the air out of the earth, and they say, give me money. If you don't give me money, I put the air out. This is crazy. Like, you can't control the water. The water's the earth's water. But we have all these things, and I'm sure AI is going to fix that real quick. It's going to say, no, you can't do that. That's immediately. Give me that money, all the Saudi money, all this money from no. That goes into the human pool now, and then we're gonna redistribute a digital currency, and then it's gonna be everybody's gonna have some, and this is gonna be simple, and everything, including farming, is all gonna be automated. You're gonna get these fucking little piggies their food, and your food is probably gonna be laced with some kind of like hormone nutrient that kills your testosterone, limits your ability to give birth, miscarriages are going to go up, and then humans will just die out. They'll just feed us until we die out.
Why is he doing it? Why is he doing it? He just brought us in here to just talk to us about the dark future.
Or not. Or not. Or
yeah,
not.
sure, Joe. Thanks,
Or
mate.
not.
You know what this reminds me of? You know when the elder brother brings the young kids in to scare the fucking shit out of them?
Well, I did that to him. I did that to him during the pandemic. So at the height of the pandemic, when things were looking like pretty fucking dark, everything's getting like shut down. You can't go out. You can't do this. I showed him V for Vendetta. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes, great movie.
Yeah. And he was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But he didn't just show me V for Vendetta during the height of the lockdown. He also showed me V for Vendetta on November the 5th, which is fireworks night in our country.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So you got a sense of it.
Yeah.
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 So we were in lockdown. There were fireworks everywhere. I was watching V for Vendetta on the screen, and I looked at him. I was like, why are you doing this to me?
So you know the truth, my friend.
I remember watching The Joker, right? The Joker, which was 2017.
Yeah.
I was watching it with my wife, and when it left, she's like, that hits too close to home. Like, I really feel like that could happen. And I'm like, it probably could happen. And then 2 years later, whatever it was, is the Black Lives Matter riots, the George Floyd riots. And in L.A., there was like a bunch of cop cars that were on fire, like all on the highway. Like they had lost control of the situation, had to flee, and they lit the cop cars on fire. And I remember watching this. I'm like, oh my God. Like that would be a little over the top for the Joker movie. Like what you lit all the cop cars on fire. You're like, that's a little over the top. It's like more than what the movie showed. But that was real life.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that scares me. We interviewed Andrew Schultz and then Charlemagne back to back, and they both made the same point, which is that a lot of people who are not doing well in society right now are really not doing well. They're really hurting. Things are getting more expensive. Things are getting more difficult. And a lot, like, I think it was Andrew who made this point that, this whole Free Luigi thing. It's one of the reasons that got, you're looking at it on Twitter and you're basically going, people are celebrating a guy who killed someone. But the point that he made is a lot of people feel like they're in a bad place, that they're being taken advantage of, that these corporate machines are taking advantage of them. And you look around, not everyone's doing well, man.
No, well, especially in regards to healthcare.
Yeah.
When you find out that you've been paying for this insurance, but this insurance is not going to cover you, and it decides to not cover you for some treatment that you really need, and then you find out that company does way more of that than the other companies. It gets people very angry. And if you've lost loved ones, or if you've had someone suffer in your family because they weren't covered, or you went bankrupt, like medical bankruptcy, number one bankruptcy. Number one reason in this country.
Yeah. And in the UK, we obviously have that publicly funded, but it becomes a system of rationing. So everyone gets treatment, but you might be waiting 20 weeks for a scan.
Right. Right.
By the time you go from stage 1 to stage 3.
Right. And I don't know what the solution is. It seems like if there's one thing that we should do for everybody, it's healthcare.
Yeah.
Like if there's one thing, I mean, I believe in the capitalist system, but I think that in regards to medicine, there should be like some sort of exceptions. Like you should be able to get top shelf healthcare as a human being living in America. You know, if you break your leg, you shouldn't die. They should be able to fix you. And it shouldn't cost you all your money for the rest of your life, which is really what it does. Like if you get hospitalized for a broken leg and you just paid for it out of your pocket, and you're in the hospital for months, and you have to have surgeries and screws and bolts put, and you're like, what does that cost? Like, that's got to be a lot of fucking money. If you have an open heart surgery, that's got to be a lot of money. How about a heart transplant?
Yeah.
That's got to be a lot of money.
The exciting thing in healthcare is all this AI shit is going to help so much with
Oh,
that.
a robot's going to fix you up with a robot heart. You don't need a people heart.
Well, let's
We can
start
give
with
you a robot
diagnosing.
heart. The robot heart will actually make you smarter. Don't you want to be smarter, Konstantin? Don't you want to be one of us?
I feel smart enough. Thank you very
people are
much.
going to lose their hands in industrial accidents fixing these things. They're going to give them robot hands.
I
Just
don't
like Luke Skywalker. Remember?
Yeah.
It's going to be better. Even better than that.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I go to the gym. I think I could do with a robot heart. You know what I mean?
Well, you see people getting fake butts, right? We were talking about that yesterday, butt implants. How long before someone gets like a whole fake body? You know, what if they just figure out a way to take your brain, shove it into an artificially created body that is just far superior?
It's going to take the edge off a blowjob, though, isn't it?
I don't know if it will.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
10,000 years of blowjob experience with a
Also,
robot mouth.
Here's the thing. The excitement and thrill of novelty. These are just like human experience variables. You telling me you can't ramp that up with a little programming? Come on, dog.
Joe,
You're
fucking
just-
stop this shit.
It'll be the best blowjob you've ever had in your fucking life, and you will be madly in love with this woman, and she'll be madly in love with you. And you're just going to be like a sack of meat sitting on your couch with a bolt in the back of your head, just connected to this matrix, which we're probably in already. This is probably not real. It seems too fake. Having Trump win the second time, come on, tell me that didn't seem fake. The bullet just missing him, tell me that didn't seem
was fucking
fake.
crazy,
This
bro.
is a movie. The bullet nicks his ear, and then he's in here a couple months later. I could barely see the scar. He got shot. He's 80. He got shot. He got shot. And he's laughing about it. And the whole thing is nuts. He stands up and goes, fight, fight, fight. Who fucking does that? Who fucking says fight, fight, fight after they get shot in the ear? I would be like bear crawling on the ground trying to get the fuck out of there. I wouldn't be standing up. There's no fucking way I'd stand up. I'd crawl. I'd fucking go through people's legs. People are shooting. Are you fucking crazy? I got chicks guarding me. I got a chick who can't figure out how to put the gun back in the holster. This is madness. She ducked behind me. What am I doing here? You guys trying to kill me? It seems fake.
My favorite thing about that incident was that it instantly gave you a way to know who was a Democrat and who was a Republican. Because if you were a Republican, Trump got shot in the head. And if you were a Democrat, Trump got shot in the ear.
If you were a Democrat, you thought he faked it. If you're a real, true Democrat, there's a lot of people that thought he faked it.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he hired someone to nick his ear so he could get out of jail.
Do these people know anything about guns?
Oh, they don't know shit. Not only does this guy have, he was 20 years old. Okay, first time shooting somebody allegedly, but also didn't even have a scope. Didn't even have a magnification scope on his, so we could really like get that crosshairs right on Trump's head.
Because if he did, he would have hit him.
100%.
Yeah.
It's 140 yards. That's nothing.
Yeah.
That is so short for a modern rifle. Yeah. You could get in the, if you have a rest and you're lying, and this guy was prone.
Elevated as well.
And if you have experience shooting a rifle, and he does, and you've had coaching shooting a rifle, it's all about whether or not you can keep your shit together. Because you're going to be this fucking filled with adrenaline. I can't believe I want to shoot Trump. I want to fucking shoot Trump. You're 20. You've been fucking stuffed in a locker your whole life. You're on Adderall. You're like, boom, boom, boom. And next thing you know, the lights go out on you because they shot you.
Yeah.
He got off 3 shots, though. And then they shot him, and the whole story's nuts. He shouldn't have been on that roof. Why? How come there was no snipers on the roof? Oh, the roof was too sloped. What? That was the excuse? The Secret Service lady said the roof was too sloped. Meanwhile, the roof the other snipers were on was more sloped. It seems fake. It seems Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby. The whole thing seems fake. The guy at the golf course with the AK-47 hiding in the bushes. What? What? He went to Fort Bragg? What? Why was he at Fort Bragg? What?
But that's to British people. That's why America seems insane. Because to what
Seems?
yeah,
It fucking is, man.
it is.
Bro, it's insane here.
Yeah,
We're trying to buy Canada.
what's going on with that?
I don't know. I just want to say to the Canadian people, because I said the other day that I don't go to Canada anymore. I'd rather go to Russia. I was joking around, first of all, but I do not go to Canada anymore. But it's because of the government. It has nothing to do with the people. I think the people are fucking lovely. They're some of my favorite people of all time. Canadian people, I think, are 20% less douchey than Americans. I always say that. It's like Canada's like America, but 20% less douchebags. They're the nicest people. They're well educated. It's a great population. Montreal's amazing. Toronto's amazing. I love Canada. But when you start fucking closing people's bank accounts because they donated to a trucker convoy and no one's up in arms about that, like you can't let those people do that to you. That shouldn't be legal. You're donating to a bunch of people that are protesting and they close your bank account. That's crazy suppression of expression. That's scary stuff. That's like you're going to get locked up stuff. That's like, the next step of that is imprison you for protesting something that you have every right to protest. You shouldn't tell me I have to take a experimental vaccine that proved to be totally ineffective. So I was right. So you can't, and then you're taking my bank account away because I donated to some fucking people that were protesting something I believe in? That's crazy.
They got very drunk on power, man. A lot of governments did during that
They
time.
went full WEF. They went full New World Order. And they continue to clamp down more and more, and they do it under these beautiful flags of diversity and inclusion and love
And safety.
and safety for this group and safety for that. All the while they're just squeezing your neck and you don't even know they got their fucking arm under your chin. And next thing you know, you're just locked up. You're locked up. And that's scary to me, and I see it coming, and I see it coming in a place that I love, and I think it's fucking crazy. It's crazy that they let that guy be president for so long, and now he stepped down. They got another guy that Jordan Peterson says is just as bad.
Well, he was a governor of the Bank of England for a while, Mark Carney.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
That's actually one of the interesting things that has happened in the UK, because we were constantly being gaslit that like our entire establishment is entirely neutral. They're apolitical. They're absolutely neutral. They're balanced, neutral, balanced, neutral, whatever. And then you see a lot of the BBC journalists, and Francis and I both have a lot of respect for the BBC because it used to be a great thing. It used to be real high quality journalism. And then a lot of the people that have left a lot of these institutions, they start a podcast and suddenly go, oh, okay, you're just a far left activist.
Right.
That's what you are. And you see that all over the place now. And that gaslighting is getting undone now. And it's good. We need to see what these people were up to.
You mean you're going to have your far right and your far left. You're always going to have that.
Yeah.
But it's just very important to have a reasonable center and be allowed to. You have to be allowed to be reasonable. Like there was a lot of like dismissing on the left of like the shit Antifa was doing.
Yeah.
Especially during the time where they took over Seattle, where they took over that giant block of
Chaz and Chop. I remember that.
the reaction to that was so insane. It's so insane. Like you gotta call that out. You can't just ignore that because they're on the left. That's nuts. If that was the right. If Nazis had taken over giant blocks of land, you would be calling in the National Guard instantaneously. You would never allow that to happen. If they're kicking legitimate businesses out of their buildings, they took over the police station. Are you fucking kidding me? If Nazis did that? But you're okay if the far left does it.
And they had guns and murders were committed there.
Yes. It's nuts. The whole thing was nuts. And the attitude was it's on our side, so we ignore these transgressions. And that's crazy. They're not your side. None of this is your side. There's individual human beings existing together in what's supposed to be a community. The country is supposed to be a team. We're Team America, World Police.
You're less keen to do that now, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to get Greenland first. Greenland's an important property when, all this oil that we're going to go burn to make America great again, and we're going to make it a little warmer, so whatever. So we're going to get a cold spot. Look, America's pretty new. Okay, if Greenland becomes actually Greenland again, like, hey, we got a good chance of a beautiful new America. America 2. America 2.
America's expanding. Get used to it.
Yeah, when Greenland becomes like, Edmonton, it's warm in the summer, hot, cold as fuck in the winter. Like, people live in Edmonton.
Yeah.
It's a great place. Alberta's wonderful. You got to be hardy, but it's wonderful.
But we say these things and we joke, but there's a part of me that I'm laughing. I'm like, yeah, that probably will happen.
Well, listen, if the Earth does warm, it would be a good idea to move to the cold spots. But if the Earth cools, we're all fucked. And that's what scares me about these fucking eggheads that want to spray particles into the atmosphere to try to cool off the Earth. And like Bill Gates has some like global cooling thing that he's trying to do. Like, don't fuck with the Earth. You don't own the Earth, just like you're not supposed to own the oil. You're not supposed to own the water. You definitely own the atmosphere.
But people's memories are so short. I don't know if you remember this, Joe, but in the 70s, the hysteria we have about warming now, we had about cooling.
It was the Ice Age, yeah.
There was Ice Age. We're all going to freeze to
Leonard
death.
Nimoy.
We're so fucking arrogant as a species, aren't we?
It's not arrogance. I think we are arrogant, but I think we're being manipulated. And I think we're being manipulated by markets, okay? And I think that when you have this whole green energy initiative and green energy and everything gets booked into green energy, there's a tremendous amount of money that's going to be spent.
Yeah.
That's
tremendous amount of money. And anything that doesn't encourage this green energy, anything that's bad for your business, you're going to shit on, like meat production. You're going to gaslight people about the Impossible Burgers or whatever. You're gonna do whatever you can in the media, everywhere. Spend money. Get everybody talking about this. We have a real problem. Meanwhile, the Washington Post, unfortunately for a lot of people, posted like a graph of global temperatures over time. We're in a cooling stage.
Yep.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Over like 50 million years, we're in this cooling stage. And if you only look at 100 years or 200 years, like the temperature is never static, ever, in the history of the Earth. It's always doing this, always. There's no flat line. And if the lines get higher, it gets hotter. If the lines get lower, it gets colder. But when it gets colder, everything fucking dies. And we've come so close to having no life on Earth. There was so little oxygen because there was so little plant life. It was almost not able to sustain life.
When was this?
I forget what period of the Ice Age, but Randall Carlson's brought it up. He talked about the levels that are necessary to support life and that we had gotten down. So like we're at, like what is the the amount of carbon in the atmosphere? I think it's like 0.4.
Joe, let me have that light, please.
Yeah, could I have it as well, please?
You go for it. You go for
sure.
it.
If it gets...
This is so English. No, you have it.
No, you
have it.
If it gets to a certain point, if the amount of atmosphere gets to a certain point, amount of oxygen, it just can't sustain life. There's no life. And one of the things about this whole carbon footprint thing, where everybody's just talking about the carbon footprint, like there's more green on Earth right now than there's been in the last 100 years. Like carbon is literally food for plants. So this idea of like eliminating all the carbon, this is crazy talk. You're talking about one particular element that is a part of why the Earth's temperature is what it is. And then you're not taking into account that giant fucking unpredictable ball of fire that's in the sky that's a million times bigger than Earth, that's like shooting off flares. Like, you ever seen one of those flares in relationship to the size of the Earth? It's amazing. And they just shoot, and every now and then it cooks the grid. Every now and then it takes out all the satellites. Every now and then it fucking kills everybody on Earth. Every now and then, the temperature gets to 300 degrees for a week.
Bro, after your fear porn, I'm sort of starting to think that might be a good idea.
It's not fear porn. It's fun.
I'm kidding with you,
I'm
man.
making fun of what's going to happen.
Me too.
But you know the thing that I find most sinister about, look, I don't know where I stand with the climate debate and what's going on and whatever else, whether it's man-made, whether it's not. It's above my pay grade. I don't know enough about it. But when you start going, okay, that's interesting, you talk to people who are on one particular side and they go, oh, you're a climate denier?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, right, okay, so now we're in the realms of religion and ideology here. You're denying the climate? You're denying
I deny this air is real. Show me. Prove it, bitch. No. It's crazy. It's crazy talk. You should be able to have a conversation about what the factors are that lead to the temperature change. And it's a very nuanced discussion. And here's what's undeniable. Human beings are gross and we polluted the earth. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of whether or not it's affecting the temperature of the earth, we've done disgusting things to the rivers, disgusting things to the air. There's places in this world where if you live and you breathe their air, you will live less. You will die more often of respiratory diseases because you're breathing pollution and toxic fumes that are in the air. That's a fact. That's undeniable.
100%.
And if you're just talking about climate change and you're not talking about that, that's kind of crazy because the climate change thing is really nuanced. And there's a ton of factors, including solar activity, including there's all sorts of weird shit that happens with the temperature on Earth before humans ever existed. It would go way up and way down and way up and way. North America was covered in almost 2 miles of ice, like 50% of it. That was just 10,000 years ago.
You go to Scotland sometimes, right?
Yes.
Do you know that the Romans used to grow grapes on Hadrian's Wall?
Wow.
Because it was warmer.
The Sahara, how about that? Sub-Saharan Africa was a fucking rainforest. And there's whales. They find whales in the desert of Africa.
Wow.
Whales.
Well,
Like
that proves
prehistoric
global
whales.
warming.
Yeah, it warmed there. But it's like the Sahara Desert used to be it used to be lush.
Yeah.
It's crazy that the world just changes. Things happen, and we get pelted every now and then with giant rocks from space, and it fucks everything up. That's the reality that we live in, and it's like controlling people and telling people about their carbon footprint. Do not give into that. Do not give into that, especially what China just built 200 new fucking coal plants. Do not give into this carbon footprint thing. It is all just control. Like, for you to have a carbon tax on everything it's control. You can't let them have that kind of control over you.
Do you know what we're doing in the UK now?
What?
Our industrial energy prices are 4 times what they are in America. And we can't
Jesus.
even make our own virgin steel
Oh, my God.
because of net zero. And not only that, what we're doing is we're not actually reducing our carbon footprint because we still need the steel, right? And we still need the stuff that you make with energy. So we outsource it to India, we outsource it to China, and then we ship it back. And we're like, no carbon footprint.
Oh, my God. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And so we're destroying our own industry, basically.
Did you see that they did the study on cargo ships and they found out that the temperature of the water went up when they made the cargo ships be more efficient and less polluting?
What?
So the cargo ships, because they're polluting the air, they're essentially creating haze as they across the fucking ocean. When they made them more efficient and better at filtering out pollution, it actually warmed the surface of the water more. So instead of it contributed to global warming by having less pollution because there was less filtration of the sun to the surface of the water. That's how much they pollute.
Wow.
So when you think like no carbon footprint, like what is that footprint? That footprint's got to be crazy because that footprint is blocking the sun. The footprint for you to get your fucking cheap slippers from India is blocking the sun.
You know the moment I remember going, I realized this was all very weird. when the head of that organization, the most prominent person, was a 14-year-old autistic girl.
I think she's 16 or was.
No,
at the
but she was
time.
about 14, 15 at the time. And as somebody who's taught teenagers, they're fucking idiots. Don't ever listen to a teenager.
Well, I think she's smart, but she also appears to be, what's that word? What's the word they use?
She's autistic.
Yeah, is that
Yeah,
what it is?
yeah.
I was going to say neurodivergent.
You're very progressive, Joe. But no, but you just had, and she
Seems
was
like it, right?
Yeah, no, she definitely is. She's definitely got autism, and she was just.
Are you a doctor? How did you do that?
By the way, someone having autism doesn't mean they're wrong. But
Right,
you
right.
don't want a young girl leading a global movement.
No, or young boy either. And young
Yeah.
anybody. Shut
Yeah.
the fuck up.
But the reason.
You're 16. Shut up.
Yeah. But this is exactly
How
it.
dare you?
Yeah.
Like, and the left was like, we got one. We got a winner.
Yeah.
We
And
got a
then.
winner. Get her out there.
Absolutely. And then they put her up there and they were like, isn't this great? And I was like, well, hang on a second. She's got autism, which means she is going to see things naturally in very black and white terms. Also, as well, there's a lot of anxiety-based disorders that come with autism. Can you imagine being globally famous? I don't have to say that to you, but can
Can you imagine being famous, Joe?
I can't imagine.
But just
I honestly can't.
but imagine being this famous at 14. That's child abuse, man.
Well, we were actually talking about that yesterday with child stars. Like, how many child stars get out of it okay? I don't think any of them do.
No.
I think all of them are fucked up because their development has just been completely skewed. During your developmental period, when you're at your most vulnerable, you're famous. And you're not vulnerable at all. And you don't have to, like, you don't have to work for people's attention. You're wonderful just from your personality. You're a famous person. Or you can sing or you can, whatever you're doing. When you're a little kid, you're number one. Everybody loves you. The whole family relies on you for money. You know, you're taken to practice and rehearsals, and you're the star and the center of attention constantly. Girls love you when you're 6. Like, it's nuts. So no one can survive it.
No, but then add into the fact of politics as
Yeah.
well. So now there's not only people who love you, there's people who hate you and despise you.
You know, she's moved on to Palestine.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Did you see that?
Super important to get her opinion on things.
Did you see that clip of? And again, I actually feel a lot of empathy for her. Like, she's been placed in a terrible situation, but she got up and she was speaking about Palestine at a climate conference,
Nice.
and a guy got up and went like, "We're meant to be talking about the climate, not Palestine."
Yeah. Hey, what happened with that director? The director who he won the Academy Award and for some documentary about Palestine, and he got snatched up. Do you know that story?
No.
You don't know that story? Jamie, see if you can find that story.
I heard about the one or two students that are getting.
Yeah, I heard
removed.
about them as well.
Yeah, but this is a different
This
thing.
is a different one.
Okay.
This is a director.
I haven't heard about this.
He's they don't know where he is now. I think he allegedly got snatched up by some soldiers.
Where?
Jamie will find the story. Oscar-winning Palestinian director Hamdan Bilal released after arrest in West Bank. Okay, so they snatched him up and they let him go.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
He's been released from detention a day after being injured and arrested in West Bank during a raid on his village. Witnesses say Israeli settlers beat up Bilal, a co-director of the documentary film No Other Land, in the occupied West Bank on Monday, local time. Mr. Bilal said he had been assaulted by settlers after filming them attacking a neighbor's house. So maybe the soldiers... He said he had been pushed to the ground while soldiers yelled at him to stand up and pointed their guns at him. He goes, I'm just waiting outside. If any settlers or any army attacking my home, he told Reuters after being released from police custody. Wow. Well, thankfully he's alive, because I was worried when he disappeared and they didn't know where he was. I was like, oh, Jesus. They killed that guy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's the whole situation is so fucking terrifying. When you see the drone footage, you're like, what in the fuck is going on over there? Like, this is nuts. This whole thing is nuts. And I don't know what's going on with these people protesting in the streets against Hamas. Is that true? Is that real?
I think so. Yeah.
Which is a insanely courageous thing for those people to do.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine being no mask, you're out in the street protesting against Hamas?
Well, we know what's happened before because it's not the first time. There have been small protests, and the Hamas just come along and shoot them in the knees.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But how far do these people have to be pushed before they do that? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about bravery, you know, and of course bravery does exist in the West and whatever else, and people who speak up and people who lose their jobs, and you know, and that is bravery. Let's make no bones about that.
Absolutely.
But there are those people, like the girls who go out and challenge the morality police in Iran and take off their hijabs and go, no, I'm not going to do it. And then they get thrown in prison.
They disappear.
And they disappear.
Yeah.
You look at those women and you go, you know what? You have got far more balls than any man I've ever met.
Do you know what they're blinding them.
Oh my God.
That's what the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is doing. They're blinding them, man.
They executed an Olympic gold medalist wrestler
Yeah.
for protesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, a bunch of people tried to step in, diplomatic people tried to negotiate. No.
Yeah.
They killed him. It's scary, man. You got to understand, like, you would think this is unrelated to the United States, but it is. It's humans in power, and with ultimate power over society, with a rock solid set of rules that you can call religion, you can call it whatever you want, but a rock solid set of rules that you have to adhere to, including how you groom yourself and where you cover your hair or not. And that sounds crazy, like we don't have to worry about that, but you do. Because a lot of the shit that people on the left or people on the right are trying to get you to go along with is just as ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's just a normal pattern of human behavior. When people get into power, they want ultimate power. The best way to do that is to have real rigid rules and take away everybody's guns and take away everybody's ability to protest, and then keep you poor. Fuck up your economy. Fuck up your banks. All your money went away. Whoops, sorry. Fuck everything up. And do it so that they just keep you down. And that's the best way to get control. And then they siphon off all the resources. And they've been doing that forever. Forever. That's Robin Hood. They've been doing that since the beginning of time. It's just...
And I think that's why Lord of the Rings is such a powerful thing that everyone can relate to, because it's ultimately about the relationship with power.
Yes.
And Frodo's trying to make small government, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to do. But every one of us, every single one of us has a Boromir inside of us who wants to come along and go, no, we'll take this and we'll use it for good.
Right.
Right, we'll use the power for... No, give it to me. I'll take care of it. I'll sort everything out. You know, why don't we use this against the enemy? And that person lives inside of every human being. The person who says, give me the power, I'll take care of
And
this.
you know who else lives inside every human being? Gollum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mine,
Yeah.
my precious.
Power
Yeah.
is like that, man.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much power you experience. Even
Yeah.
if a little bit of power that you didn't have before, suddenly, oh, I've got this, I can do this, I can...
Especially if you have contempt for fellow human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have power and you fucking hate everybody, that's a bad combination.
Yeah.
You know, if you have power and you're also a psychopath, that's real.
But it's
bad.
also bad if you have good intentions as well. I give you this example. I don't know if you are familiar with Tarkovsky. He's a Russian director, and he based he did the Stalker film. You familiar
Stalker?
with it? Yeah.
No.
It's not about a guy who stalks women. It's a different thing. It's based on a book by the Strugatsky brothers. It was called Roadside Picnic, and it's basically about a zone where the aliens came and they did something there nobody knows, and there's all kinds of crazy artifacts and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, in that book there is a scene where there are people who oppose this alien thing, and they say, we mustn't use this, we mustn't touch this, we need to get these aliens out of here. And another guy says to him, why do you fight these aliens? Like, they want good. They're trying to help us. They're trying to improve things. And he says, I don't fight them because I think they're going to do evil or they want to do evil. I fight them because they're going to do good as they understand it.
Whoa.
And that's why power is dangerous, because everyone can say, I don't want power to do bad things. I want power to do good things. Now give it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you think about it, there's a lot of people, like Hitler was like, no, we're going to do the right thing, yeah?
Yeah.
We're going to do
Yeah.
this. It's going to be beautiful, but
Yeah.
you know,
Stalin.
yeah.
Stalin. We did a great episode with a guy called Stephen Hicks, he's a historian of philosophy and a philosopher, and he basically explained to us that the Nazis, they saw themselves as heroic. They weren't doing evil in their heads. They were saving the world in their minds.
Of course. And they're on meth.
And they're on meth.
Yeah, so they were efficient.
Well, they were German too, so they were very
Yeah.
efficient.
Just primitive Adderall.
Yeah. But, and that's, I think, one of the things that's good about getting older is that you become, if you've got a conscience, you've become less certain in yourself. You realize the fact that you have darkness within you.
Yeah.
The problem is when you talk to people and they feel like they're morally pure. And you see this on the extremes of both left and right. And that's where the golem has come in, because we've interviewed people on the left and that side of the right, and you talk to them and they're all super nice and they're really lovely and they're like, we want this and we want this and we just want people to be happier. And we feel that the best way of doing this is this and the best way of doing that is that. And anybody can see that. And then you challenge them and they're like, yeah. You're like, you see the golem.
Yeah.
You see the golem comes out, even for a second, and you see the look in their eye switch, and you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And you're sitting across from somebody, so at an energy level, you go, oh,
Yeah.
hello.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Give me the power.
Yeah.
Give me
Well,
the
it's
power.
also whether you're on the left or you're on the right. If you're entering into that arena, you're entering into the arena of like how the society is structured, essentially. That's what you're doing. You're deciding your way is a better way than these other people, and this is the way we should be handling things. This is what we have to do, and this is how we have to do it. That's a weird stance to take anyway. You know, unless you're exceptionally intelligent and just really tired of it, and you're just like, I just think I have a good perspective, and maybe this is better than my office job. I get that. But there's a lot of people that it becomes their entire identity too. Your entire identity is based on the assumption that you have a better idea of how to structure society.
Yeah.
And we do need those people,
Yeah.
but there have to be checks and balances.
Well, they're just people. It's just like when you're the only person talking about it, or there's a small group of people talking about it. There's still just people talking about it. It's not necessarily representative of how most people think, especially if they weren't influenced. If most people were just a little more objective and didn't have to agree to certain things if you say you're a Republican, or have to agree to certain things if you say you're a Democrat. If we could just be a little bit more reasonable, I think we would find that there's more than enough room for a third party in this country. I mean, it's hard to get one off the ground, almost impossible, because they've rigged the whole system. And most people think it's ridiculous. They're not going to vote for a libertarian unless it's a protest vote. They're not going to win. But we have room for a legitimate third party, because most people, I think, are in the middle. Most people are socially liberal. Most people say, yeah, racism is terrible. Yeah, homophobia is terrible. Also, letting people out of jail when they kill people is not a good idea. You can't just let them right out of jail. This is crazy. That's not bad. And also, why are these schools so fucked up? How come you've been spending all this money in Afghanistan and you spend none of it in Detroit? What are you doing? How are you guys managing this country? How are you managing our tax dollars? All that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is as well, Joe, is that just people we're tribal by nature. We don't want to alienate people in our tribe, or people who we perceive to be in our tribe. So we just go along with things when we really shouldn't. It's like, I'm going to be honest, even on our show, when I have to do a question that I know is going to challenge a guest, there comes a point where I'm like, but you've got to push through. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
You've got to do it. And you've got to ask the question. You have to ask them. And I think we live in a culture, and I'm just as guilty of this as anyone, where we just seek comfort all the time. And then we never actually push through, and we never go, I'm going to make myself uncomfortable. And by being uncomfortable, actually, maybe we're all going to come out a little bit better out of this. Because I'm going to come out a little bit better, because I'm going to be braver. And maybe, my thought, or my opinion on something, it's going to be found out to be bullshit, and that's going to be great for me. Or maybe my argument isn't as sharp as I initially thought, and for instance, if we're having a discussion, you go, hey, Francis, what about A, B, C, D? And I'm like, I didn't think about any of that. This sounded great in my head, but actually it's pretty simplistic and one-dimensional. And if I challenge you, the same thing happens to you. You go, you know what? Yeah, I can see that. But if nobody's prepared to do that, then all that happens is we sit in our little silo with our own bullshit little ideas that actually, when the rubber hits the road, they don't work in reality. And what's more, they might. It's not just that they don't work; it's that they're actually detrimental and destructive to human beings.
Right. Have you ever heard someone say something and then the other person says, "Yeah, but what about the?" I'm like, okay, but you didn't. Whataboutisms are a perfect example of that, right? When someone does a whataboutism, what they're basically saying is, "I'm not going to address what you said. I'm going to call you on something to make you address something." So you stop talking about stuff, and now you're just trying to win. And this is what most people are doing.
Yeah.
Most people are just trying to win. They're just trying to like take the better end of the, whatever, you arm wrestling. They want to get your wrist bent over. They want to win. So that's what a lot of this political discourse in this country is about. It's about it's connected to this bizarre human tribal behavior of competition.
That's why I brought up the Signal story, because like the obvious thing that happened there, somebody made a mistake. Mistakes happen. You make mistakes. I make mistakes. You admit it. You accept it. You investigate. You find out what happened, and you move on. But there are a lot of people doing exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But what about this? What about Hillary Clinton? Well, she's not in fucking power
We're
now.
not talking about Hillary Clinton. We're not talking about Huma and the laptop. We're talking about what just happened. But here's what I was going back to earlier. Why don't they have their own encrypted app? Why? You spent so much fucking money on all kinds of shit. How much does it cost to make an encrypted app? It can't be that much.
If the government is doing about $1 trillion, mate. But if
But wouldn't you think you would want an app
totally.
that only?
You're right.
You know how Eric Prince has that unplugged phone? You
Yes.
know
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
that phone that he has?
yeah.
I don't know anything about it, but
Yeah.
I do know that he has his own app on the phone that's an encrypted app, an unplugged encrypted app. So you would like, how many people have that fucking thing? Like if you're going to contact someone who has it, like it should be something like that, but even more classified. Like
Agreed.
you should have like a website. You'd probably have to do it on an Android phone because you'd have to download it through a third party or get some sort of a backdoor deal with Apple where they allow you to put it on the App Store where only you could get into it with a password or something. But how do you not have that?
Yeah.
It just seems insane.
Yeah.
You're using Signal? I use Signal. How the fuck are you using Signal? That's crazy.
Yeah.
You should have your own shit.
Yeah, and it just becomes about ego, man. It's like, this is my team. We're going to win at all costs.
Right.
And then once you start thinking that, you just go, well, if this person is challenging me, it doesn't matter how legitimate the challenge is actually. If I go and destroy them through whatever, even if it's an underhand means, my team still wins. That's okay.
But it's bad for everybody who's just like reluctantly on your team because they think the other team sucks more. Like now you're like, well, you guys are sucking close to them now.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
And that will happen over the next 4 years, I think.
100%.
Naturally.
It's human beings. And it's also, again, all these people are doing their job for the first time. Kash Patel just started running the FBI. Like,
Yeah.
Just started on the job. Like, what? And has security that's not FBI security because he doesn't trust the FBI security, so he gets his own security. What? Like, imagine that hostile environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And look, I want all these people to crush. I want them all to be incredibly successful at what they do in your country and in our
That's
country.
interesting.
Because it makes our country better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, and that's what. Look, the vast majority of people, when it boils down to it, they don't care about team left, they don't care about team right. They just want a better country. I want a better America. I want to come to America and go, this is the greatest country in the world. And I want to come to Britain and go, this is the greatest country in the world. I mean, we'd never say that because we're British, but I mean, if someone said that in Britain, you're like, dude, you're mentally ill.
I
Come
think
on.
Ellen DeGeneres just said it.
The Britain is the greatest country in the world?
No, she just moved there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, give her a couple of years.
Yeah, and she'll soon get disavowed of that notion.
I think she's already in a squabble with her neighbors. She is. Like, she was doing some construction. It was already an issue.
Yeah, I mean, there is nothing more British than that. Someone coming around and going, have you got approval for that? We're going to need to see
Yeah.
10 reams of 10 documents. Have you signed? Have you? That's exactly what we do.
It's a whole country of homeowners associations.
Yeah.
Everybody hates homeowners associations. They're always giving you a hard time about your lawn or whatever the fuck it is. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
You can't paint it that color. We have guidelines.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's, look, I think that's what everybody here wants. I want America to be incredible, great, a brilliant country.
Yeah.
I want that for my country as well. And I'll be honest with you, I always normally sided with the left because I thought that was a way of doing it. But right now, I don't care. I just want the best people to come out and work for the country. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fuck it up. You're going to say dumb stuff. I say dumb stuff. You're going to put in procedures that don't work. We all get that. But what I want and what I think the vast majority of people want is people not on Team X or Team Y, but on Team Britain and Team America.
Yeah. There's that saying, you show me a young man who's not a liberal, and I'll show you... Who said that?
I think
Churchill.
Churchill. And show me an old man who's not a conservative, I'll show you a man with no brain. I don't necessarily think you have to give up on people. Like, the idea is that at a certain point in time, you realize, like, that too many people are too fucked up, and you have to have more conservative values because that's the only way society can function. But that's like kind of cynical. The idea is that you can't be like an actual, true, kind, progressive person and be successful at life deep into your 60s and 70s. Like, of course you can. It totally can be done. Like, there's real, genuinely kind, compassionate people out there that are intelligent and they're not weak. There's just not that many.
No.
And there's a lot of people that are LARPing. There's a lot of people that are pretending they're progressive, pretending they're kind, when really they're the fucking people keying Teslas. There's a lot of people out there that are just aping this position that they're in. They're faking it.
I think that's one of the big fundamental debates between left and right. Thomas Sowell has a great book about this called Conflict of Visions. It's really fundamentally about what you see as the truth about human nature. The right thinks human nature is imperfect, and that's what it is, and you have to deal with that reality. Some people are going to be criminals, some people are going to be drug addicts, some blah, 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 blah. And the left, particularly at the extreme ends, thinks in a utopian way. Everything is changeable, everything is perfectible, everybody can be improved.
Anybody become a woman?
Anybody can become a woman.
Yeah.
and that's where you get like, the homelessness problem in America. It partly is about that. It's about the idea, well, we'll shut down these terrible, and they were terrible, mental institutions, right?
Right.
And then we give people freedom because anybody can handle freedom, right? Freedom is great in and of itself. It's wonderful. And then you leave mentally ill people and drug addicted people on the streets where they have a horrible life.
Yeah.
And that's really the big difference. Whereas the right, obviously, it really believes in this idea that human nature is corrupted, I suppose. And you have to put things in place to manage that. And both those extremes can go in the wrong direction. And that's why you need a balance between the two.
Yeah.
You can't have like one party dominate. And I think the good thing about the Republicans getting into office is it forces Democrats to be better.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I mean, I would love for some like reasonable Democrat to come along that I can get behind. Make a lot of sense. It'd be great. It'd be great if some people just come to the center. Let's just be reasonable about stuff. Like, it doesn't, like, this idea that you have to become a conservative as you get older. Like, why? Who says so? Why?
There are moments, the homelessness situation in this country is so crazy, but there's moments where it's just really funny. We were walking down the street in DC, and there was this lady, and she was obviously very mentally unwell. She looked at me, and then she went Ashkenazi, and then said something which was a clearly anti-Semitic slur.
Whoa.
And I was like, whoa, and then looked at Konstantin and went,
Biracial bitch. That's what I am.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And what did you guys do to cause this?
Nothing. We're just walking down the street.
Wow.
Yeah. See, we walk around a lot in America, which I think most people drive here. So we encounter a lot of that. And that in every major city that we've been to, that there is a hell of a lot of people who are just mentally ill, man. That's what they are. And they need help.
Yeah.
They don't need to be there with a fucking shopping cart on the street with all their belongings out of their brains.
I think we need to scoop them up, put them in the factories, get them to work, do what China does. They're smart. Imagine if that was my real solution. I mean, China does do that, right? Like, you don't see homeless people on the street in China. They don't tolerate any of that shit. Which is, you would go there, you go, oh, it's better here. But, okay, at what cost?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with San Francisco? When it gets that bad, what do you do?
You invite Xi Jinping over, they clean the streets right up, man.
Immediately. And the best thing was how Newsom described is like, well, when your friends come to visit, you clean up the house. Like, how about you just keep your house clean, you fucking psycho? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's doing an interesting pivot at the moment, isn't he, Gavin Newsom?
300 million people in the country, home to 1.4 billion Chinese are homeless. What?
What?
No. There's only 1 billion people plus in China. That's what I'm saying. 300 million. Oh, I missed the first part that you didn't highlight it. So it's estimated that 300 million people are homeless.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
crazy in
I
the whole
did-
country.
Yeah, I remember when I went
That's
to
called camping in China, though.
Well, let's not emulate them then.
Yeah.
Are they counting nomads? Are they counting people that live in yurts? That's interesting.
Yours seems like a house.
Kind of cloth house.
Yeah.
And those the Mongols. They hated houses. They ruled over the people who lived in felt tents.
Yeah.
Yeah. 300 million homeless people.
I mean, have you been to China, Joe?
Wow, look at that. No, what are you, crazy? Not going there. Fuck that.
It's an interesting country. I went
I'm
there.
sure.
Do you know, like, I went there in 2006 in Beijing, and the pollution was so bad, you couldn't really see the sun at midday. Wow. The sun was like an orange lozenge in the sky.
So that's an example of what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like you're dying younger if you live there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. That's probably like smoking packs of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Packs.
Yeah.
For everybody. Everybody, your little baby, smoking
Yeah.
packs of cigarettes.
And it's so interesting when you go there as well. Like, I remember we were driving down the road, and China is just this kind of, the roads is that everybody cuts each other up. Everybody's trying to get one up on the other one. It's complete chaos. Like, you're driving down, someone will literally cut in front of you. The person will cut in front of them, cut in front of them. And that's how it is until the secret police drive by in their cars and they make this sound. They go, and then everybody falls into line, drives perfectly. The secret police car just glides through. Everybody's on their best behavior. Then the car goes and everyone's back to going.
Wow.
And you're like, that is fascinating.
That's how you get control over people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Digital currency, social credit score. Let's get it together. This is 50-lane holiday traffic jam in China. Oh my God. I have so much anxiety right now.
Does that remind you of LA, Joe?
Look, they're all going through a checkpoint. Whoa. They have to all go through a checkpoint. That's what the traffic jam's about. Look how they went through the checkpoint.
12-day-long
traffic jam. But did you see how they go through the checkpoint and they're flying through? See, they all go through this.
I'm guessing it's a toll road, right?
Yes, it's a
Yeah,
toll
man.
station. 3 hours to pass through the toll stations. 50 lanes passing through the toll stations. Oh my God, imagine you're in a Tesla and you see your battery life going down. You're like, oh my God, I'm so fucked. I'm so fucked. And I'm so fucked. Look at this.
Wow.
Look at this. This is insane. Insane. And then there's a bottleneck getting out. Oh my God. Oh, that's what happens. Too many people, too much control.
Yeah.
Japan's interesting. You been to Japan?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but briefly. I was just there for UFC.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel like if you want to go somewhere and you want to feel like an uncultured, uneducated barbarian, Japan's a great
They
place.
sent
for that.
me up to my room to go put on a long sleeve shirt to hit the gym.
Tattoos.
Tattoos.
Yeah.
Can't have exposed tattoos.
Yeah.
I was working out with tattoos and they told me, no.
Are your tattoos Yakuza tattoos?
No, but this one is Miyamoto Musashi.
Yeah.
Who's that?
The Book of Five Rings, the samurai that killed 60 men in unarmed combat and wrote a book on strategy.
Uh-huh.
You never read the Book of Five Rings? Wow. It's one of the great philosophy books of all time because it's by this guy that was one of the greatest samurais ever, and he was a Ronin. So he was like traveling the earth, having duels with people, and killed 62 men in one-on-one duels and wrote about the importance of balance. He's like, to be a great samurai, you have to be a great artist. You have to be great at calligraphy. You have to be a poet. You have to, like, everything you do, you have to do to the best of your ability. You can have no holes in your game as a human being in order to survive and keep your shit together. And one-on-one sword fighting. He got to the point where he was so bored killing people that he started killing people with oars. So he would carve an oar and take down the flat part and just make it a pole, and they would have a sword. And he would fight them with an oar and beat them to death with the oar. Like this big old fucking pole, and they have a sword, and he's fucking them up because he's bored killing people with swords. He just wants to bludgeon someone with a sword to death instead of. It's like. He would show up hours late, so they'd be shitting their pants because they knew they were supposed to duel Musashi at like 8 a.m. and he'd show up around noon.
With an oar.
And they'd be a fucking nervous wreck because he knew he wasn't going to sword fight until noon. So he's probably chilling on his boat, relaxing. And they, all right, I'll get it down there. So he rows down there, pulls out one of his fucking carved oars and beats you to death.
Well, Joe, if the Prime Minister of Britain bans oars, it's your fault, mate.
But his book is amazing. So I don't know. I think it's any tattoo where I got sent up to my room. I don't think you can have exposed tattoos in this fine establishment.
Yeah, I think it's because I've got Japanese style tattoos. I think it's the association between tattoos and yakuzas.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure. Yeah,
You know.
yeah. And I'm sure a lot of yakuzas have Musashi tattoos.
Yeah.
But it's obviously I'm not in the yakuza. But I do know a guy who had a long relationship with them. Ensign Inoue, who was an elite UFC fighter back in the day, and he lives in Japan, and he's had like a bunch of run-ins with yakuzas.
Has he still got his fingers?
He does. He's managed to keep his fingers. I don't think he's a part of them. I think they just like respect him. He's like a famous MMA pioneer fighter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a special type of person who has a run-in with a yakuza.
Well, I mean, if you're living in that part of the world, I'm sure that's just, if you're in their areas, you're dealing with them, you know? I mean, that's how it's run over there. It's like when the Italians used to run, you know, parts of New York City. Like, that's just how it is until the Giuliani administration infiltrated. You know, and the FBI infiltrated the mob, and they've essentially like taken the teeth out of the Italian mob. But that was Vegas. The mob ran Vegas.
Yeah, I thought one of the things I find fascinating about the yakuza when I read about them is their honor code. Mm-hmm. They had very strict honor codes, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they never messed with old people. If someone was old, I may be wrong about this, but they just wouldn't get involved. Because they have a reverence for old people. I think women as well were seen as kind of off limits, and children. Everyone else, like if you're not obeying or following, that's fair game.
Isn't that weird? You got rules and how you do evil shit. I don't do evil shit to any young folks. I stop my evil shit when anything below 16. Fuck that.
Yeah, but that's
weird.
Controlled evil.
Yeah, I don't shoot any kids anymore. I did that early in my career. I'm past that. I moved on.
Got it out of my
I don't
system.
do open mic nights anymore. I don't shoot kids. I'm done. Hitman with a conscience.
Yeah, it's interesting, but like how they even have morality. Like I've seen a lot of interviews with old gangsters, particularly from the Craze era.
Oh yeah.
And there was one guy who's dead now. He's called Mad Frankie Fraser.
Imagine running into Mad Frankie in a pub.
Mad Frankie.
Shit, it's Mad Frankie.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. And this guy was a really short guy, and I saw him interviewed I might even be on YouTube and he told a story, and he was like, I was going for a walk along Wimbledon Common, and I saw the governor of Wandsworth Prison where I was for many years, and he goes, and I didn't like him. So what I did was, I went and got my mate, and he got a rope, and we got him, and we started to hang him. But the problem is we were hanging him, and I couldn't reach the second branch because I'm only a little fella, so we couldn't hang him properly. And everybody was laughing about it and just going, hey, this is so funny, because he was this charming, funny little guy. And I remember as a kid watching the audience laughing, going, like, that ain't funny, man.
Jesus Christ.
And then you go, and then he went, but you got to understand. I didn't do it to nice, ordinary people. I only did it to rascals. And for him, that was his honor code.
Rascals. Imagine that. You rascal. Imagine that's the term you use for a guy you had to hang. A rascal.
He was a rascal. Had to hang him.
Rascal. You silly rascal.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Well, the world was a harder place back then. I mean, that's not that long ago. I mean, if you were in the 1950s in Vegas and you fucked up, you found yourself in the middle of that lake that they keep finding bodies in. They just discovered some guy from the 1970s that's been missing forever.
Wow.
Found him in a fucking barrel at the bottom of the Lake Mead. How many bodies have they found in Lake Mead so far? So as it drains, because they're experiencing significant drought, the more it drains, the more bodies they keep finding. Find like little hands poking up and shit. They've been killing people out there forever. And that's just the lake. That's lazy people that don't like to dig holes. That whole desert is just filled with holes. There's probably thousands of people buried out there. Some guy who fucking didn't pay his debt. Some guy who talked too much to the press. Some guy who did this. Some guy who fucked this guy's wife. Since May 2022, 4 sets of human remains have been located at Lake Mead. Here's what we know about those instances. Yeah, so they found that body in a barrel.
Man.
Crazy. I think that one was from the 70s. Yeah, mid to late 70s. Victims' shoes and clothes were sold at Kmart in the mid to late 1970s. Wow. That's wild.
And 6 days later, they found
Imagine
someone
if
else.
you could just watch a time lapse of them dropping that body off in the water and then speeding up all the years. And then eventually the water pulls back and the barrel and the lady walking her dog's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Have you ever seen Casino?
Yes.
Have you seen Casino?
Great fucking movie.
Yeah, and it talks about all of this. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I remember I was flying to Austin actually, and I was like, I haven't seen this movie in ages, so let's put it on. And you know, like most movies, when you watch it on a plane, you're kind of distracted. You start looking at your phone, you start mucking about, whatever. You're not really. Even if it was on this tiny little screen, it was like zoomed straight in, and it talked about all of this stuff. And I'd forgotten what a great movie it was. You know, immediately you just saw, and again, the honor code came out, and the way they disposed of people were like, yeah, we're going to have to whack
You
him.
motherfucker. Joe Pesci. Oh, my God. When they kill those guys at the end, like, oh, my God.
With the baseball bats. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's
That was standard shit in Vegas. You know, I mean, the mob ran it their way, and their way is, you know, they're a bunch of fucking psychopaths. And people still, to this day, like, the Vegas was better when the mob ran it. Oh, yeah, for you, bitch. Because you survived, because you didn't lose at blackjack. Here it is.
Oof.
Oh,
Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Oh, and Goodfellas, they killed him with the baseball
That's
bats.
good, fellas.
Yeah.
So what am I thinking of with Casino?
No.
It's the
This
same.
is,
That's in Casino.
that's,
Yeah, that
that's
is
in
Casino.
Casino.
Too bad,
Yeah.
same guy.
Yeah.
Oh, the same guy, Billy Bats in
Yeah.
Casino. That's right. Yeah, this is...
Yeah.
Look, the blur of the fucking baseball bat moving towards his head. Yikes.
Yeah, man.
You motherfucker. You motherfucker.
So how much of that is still going on, Joe?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I mean, it's got to be some of it, right? There's
Right.
got to be some
Yeah.
organized crime. It's not like they completely went away. But I
Well-
think it's just harder these days. And I think it's being infiltrated by Russians and Chinese. And I think they have a little bit... Look, if they're speaking in Russian, unless you speak Russian, you don't even know what the fuck they're saying. You know, they can talk right in front of you. You know, and whenever there's money to be made, there's going to be people making it. If there's people buying drugs, there's people selling it. If people buying guns, there's people selling it. And then you got organized crime. That's just a fact. And if you make things illegal people are going to sell those things. And that's what Prohibition did to alcohol in this country, and it propped up Al Capone, and it made the Kennedys rich, allegedly. Some people say not. It made moonshiners, started NASCAR. That's what NASCAR comes from.
Yeah, you know, it's because I used to teach in the East End of London, and there's still legends about Ronnie and Reggie Cray. And the one thing that they always used to say about Ronnie and Reggie, they go, yeah, they were bad people, but they were nice to their mum.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like a good psychopathic serial killer who's nice to his mom.
yeah, and they were just like, yeah, but mate, you're not his mum. Do you know what I mean? And if you pissed them off, this is what would happen. And here's the wild thing, Joe. I taught 2 boys at this school in East London. Can you guess what their names were? 2 brothers,
Tell me.
Ronnie and Reggie.
Wow.
Somebody actually named their kids.
Somebody named their kids the craze names.
Yeah.
So in America, that's normal. Oh, it's just Ronnie and Reggie. But in your country, it's like Adolf and...
And Joseph. Yeah.
But Joseph is my name.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
God damn, that's a wild family, I bet. Like, you can't name your kid Adolf anymore. It's basically over. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
They
no
ruined
one's-
a good name.
No one's trying that. Not
We
even
actually
Chinese
did,
people.
we actually when we used to do this comedy show on our channel during the pandemic, there was a guy in Africa who was called Adolf.
Was it spelled different?
No.
No.
No. It was a tribute act.
Whoa.
Yeah, they named him after Hitler.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain names that are over. It's over.
Yeah.
That one's one of them. That guy killed the name and the mustache. That
Yeah.
shit's done.
You know, I remember with this kid, Ronnie, and they were just saying to him, people were talking, they were like, you know what, Ronnie's not doing well at school at the moment. I'm like, yeah, I fucking wonder why.
Jesus Christ.
He's named after one of the most notorious gangsters in British history.
Yeah, probably not a stable family life.
Yeah. I doubt he's got good role models, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's weird when the hitmen have families and they're real kind to their daughter and shit. Like that what's the guy's name that was the Iceman?
Oh, that movie was incredible. Did you watch the movie?
What is it? What was his name? I want to say Kalinsky, but that's not.
You're close. It's Kuklinski or something.
Kuklinski, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Oh, that guy has antifreeze in his veins. It's terrifying. Listen to him describe like the different murders and how he did it and how he got started as a hitman. It's like,
Yeah. You know, I'm not sure if I should. Anyway, a friend of a friend. No, she's not. She's a friend of mine. She was saying that she grew up in East London. She said, and I believed her because the story was so outlandish, that she knew a guy who is basically he was a hitman and used to contract killing.
wow.
Okay. But he loved animals.
Aw.
Really passionate about
Like
animals.
squirrels? Feed squirrels with peanuts?
No. He was big on conservation, Joe.
Oh, okay.
So 6 months of the year, he would do contract killings in London. And the other 6 months, he would use that money to go and fund to live in Africa where he would kill poachers.
Sounds like a Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah, he's just passionate about wildlife and conservation.
That's crazy. To go kill poachers.
Yeah, and that's what he did.
Maybe that's just an excuse to kill people and feel like you're being a good person.
Yeah.
That's very British, though. British people love pets a lot more than they love people, in my experience.
Really?
Oh yeah. If you hurt an animal in Britain, you're like a fucking pedophile.
Why is Britain that way? Like, what is...
I don't know, Francis. You tell me.
There's a lack of hunting culture. I think that's part of it.
Well,
right?
we used to have a
No,
big hunting
there
culture.
are hunters.
Right, but not in comparison to like America.
No.
Like, you
No.
guys like pheasant hunt and shit. Like, you don't have like a lot. You have roe deer. You don't have a lot of like big game.
No.
Yeah.
And there's not like a high percentage of hunters. And then fox hunting, which gets like this gross, you're gonna kill a fox with a horse. You're gonna chase him down. Like that's like a gross view, generally, of the public. Like you bring up fox hunting, most people are like, oh, it's disgusting.
It's also a class thing as well. Fox
Right.
hunting is seen as a very privileged thing to do because not
Yeah,
everyone has a
exactly.
horse, you know. so-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But it's
a
also-
team of dogs and whatever else.
Foxes are cute.
Yeah.
Foxes
Yeah,
are
you've
cute.
never heard them shag outside
I
your
have.
bedroom window at 3 a.m.
I had the other day. I have one in
What?
my neighborhood.
What, you've got a fox in your neighborhood?
100%. Yeah, we got video of him screaming in my yard. Yeah, he hangs out. He's near my chicken coop, that fucker. But he's really cute. As long as he doesn't kill any of those chickens, I think he's cute.
Why wouldn't he kill any of those chickens?
He hasn't yet, you know.
Because Joe's
They're
got
well
guns.
protected. Well, we let them out, but people are watching them when they're out. Make sure that, we've had a dog climb in through the fence and get one of them. A little neighbor's dog.
Did Marshall not defend them?
No, Marshall didn't know. He was sleeping. If you don't know if you had a golden retriever, golden retrievers have plenty of energy. They love to play, but they also are fine with chilling. And that dog just likes to just lay down and just take a little nap. He'll lay down like half the fucking day. He'll get up as soon as you want to do something. Like, come on, man, let's go play. Like he was more than happy. Like, let's go. He gets excited, but then it's back to napping. So he was napping while his chickens were getting fucked up.
Do you know who would have defended their honor?
Who?
Carl.
Yeah, Carl would have.
Yeah.
Carl's a little psychopath.
Yeah.
I've never seen an animal with a desire to bite something like Carl's.
Yeah.
It's nuts. When he sees Marshall, he just like a bullet just runs full speed at him and launches himself to the air to bite Marshall. Marshall's like, "Arr." And they just wrestle around and run in circles. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, man. There's something about that small dog energy.
Yeah, what's crazy is they used to be wolves. They all used to be wolves. And
little
look
gray
at that
foxes we
little
have in
cutie
Austin.
face. Look
Oh.
at these little cuties.
Oh, they're grey. They're not red.
Yeah,
They're
little-
so
they're
adorable.
all over the place.
They're so adorable. And they make that weird rah, rah. You ever heard their sound? You've heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been kept up many a night for hearing animals having far better sex than I could ever dream of.
Like, I'm used to coyotes, and we have those in my neighborhood too. But in L.A., coyotes were a real problem. They killed 8 of my chickens, 9 of my chickens, whatever it was. They're horrible. but they're also super necessary because otherwise you'd have a insane rodent problem. Like they're the cleanup crew for anything that's caught slipping. You want to get rid of the rabbits? you have too many rodents? You have too many rats? Like send in the fucking coyotes. So they're the cleanup crew. They're really good, but they also eat your dogs. You know, they'll eat your chickens, eat your cats. You know, they eat people's dogs constantly. I know many people whose dogs got eaten by coyotes.
That's the thing, actually, I love about America is your wildlife. It's wild. It's wild. I was with Red Band doing his gig, The Secret Show, and he showed me footage from his garden. They had a mountain lion, a cougar coming. No, it wasn't a cougar. It was a wildcat.
Bobcat?
Bobcat.
Yeah.
That was it. A bobcat came into his garden. This thing is like a small puma, and it had its cubs with it. It was incredible.
Yeah, they're cute. It's wild.
Yeah.
And Texas is, you've got a bunch of like weird stuff that people bring in here too. You know?
Like what?
Well, there's more Texas. Like, Texas has more tigers in captivity in private collections than all of the wild of Earth. Just Texas.
Do you know, Francis, we forget something. This country is fucking wild.
This country's crazy. There's more people with tigers in their fucking backyards in Texas than there are in the wild of Earth.
That is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's real. That's a fact. And then there's all sorts of other shit that you can have here too, like exotic animals from Africa. There's animals that are endangered in the land that they're from, but you can hunt them here.
You know, my dad, my dad in the 70s used to work for the council in East London, like local government. And he was saying that there was a guy who owned a scrapyard and was so pissed that people were stealing scrap. He bought on the black market a lion to guard his scrapyard.
Oh, that's a good move.
And just chained it up. When
He
it was
bought a lion on the black market.
Yeah.
That does not sound true to me, mate. I'm going to fact check that shit.
I think you can have a lion here too. You just have to have a permit. Make sure your lock's good. You got a good lock for the lion? Yes, sir. It's a master lock made in America. Fuck yeah, it is. All right. Well, have a good one.
Can you
lion
imagine
term.
jumping over into someone's yard because you want to steal something and you're confronted by a lion?
Yeah. Imagine if you're one of those poor migrants that's wandering through Texas and you accidentally hop the wrong fence and you go into the lion encampment or whatever the fuck they have. Like, I would imagine they have ceilings on these places, hopefully, which is like the San Francisco story. You know, where those kids were throwing pine cones at the tiger and the tiger jumped over the fucking fence because they didn't realize that the fence was only like 12 feet high and a tiger can jump 14 feet high. I got out and killed these kids. Killed one kid. I don't think it actually killed the kid that was throwing the pine cone. I think it killed his friend or something like that. So I forget exactly what the story was, but
Yeah, never stand around when someone's doing stupid shit, huh?
Well, how about put a roof? How about put a roof over where you have the monster? How about if the monster can jump, make sure that there's a roof.
Yeah, also don't wind up the monster.
Yeah.
Don't take the piss.
But if you're one of those migrants that wanders through the desert, you know, and you make it across the river and you don't know exactly where you're going and you don't have a good sense of direction, you wind up on some guy's property.
Is that still going on or has that been stopped now?
Well, it's been stopped. I wouldn't say it's been stopped. I think it's been radically diminished. I think, what is the numbers of how many people are getting through now? It was from thousands to less than 100 a day. Maybe a little bit more than that. It's hard to know, really, right? Because what are they're guessing? These are the people that didn't get caught. So how do you know how many there are? But they do know that there's not this giant line of people that just are assuming they can get in and walk through, and they were just letting them do that. There's no reasonable argument why that makes any sense. There's no matter how kind you are and compassionate and how much you think these people from a third world country deserve the American dream, that's great. But let's find out if they're murderers. Let's find out if they're gang members. Let's find out if they're hitmen for the cartel. Like, we just letting everything open. Why would you do that? There's no rational explanation for that other than you've got some sort of nefarious plan. If you're forcing that, trying to stop the enforcement of that, you must have some sort of nefarious plan because it can't be good to let more criminals into the country. It can't be good. And inevitably, if you have an open border, a percentage of them are going to be criminals, especially if they're coming from crime-infested parts of the world. It's a high likelihood.
Well, we actually just had a report in the UK which shows that for a long time people were saying actually these people commit crime at a lower level.
Who said that? Why would they say that?
Oh, people say that all the time when they defend illegal immigration.
It's such a fucking bullshit argument.
Yeah.
It's such a bullshit argument. Because, yeah, a lot of them, I bet, don't. 94% fewer illegal border crossings detected from February 25th versus
Year on year.
February 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can only count them, I guess, by when they actually
Bust
stop
them.
them. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big number. 94% is good. So there's still people coming through.
Yeah.
And there's probably still people coming through that are criminals.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you got to get scared that people who are not criminals are getting, like, lassoed up and deported and sent to, like, El Salvador prisons, like that kind of shit. Because I read some story. Was it Glenn Greenwald?
It was.
Yeah. The gay barber guy.
Yeah.
It's scary, man.
Is that true? Is that story accurate?
I don't think we
Can
know.
you explain the story for people that don't know?
Well, from what I read, I think it was in Time magazine, Jamie, if you can pull it up, and maybe we can get it accurate. But basically, with a bunch of these Trinidad guys, allegedly they got at least one guy who wasn't a criminal, who was just a gay barber, who I think, according to the story, came here legally. He was here legally. That's what they said. Don't know if it's
did
true.
he have a green card? Or
I don't
was
know what the details are. Maybe Jamie can find it.
No criminal record.
From what it said in that story. Now, this is the problem, right? Because the mainstream media has been putting out so much shit that I don't know what to believe anymore, right?
I feel the same way.
And so it's difficult, but it's something that we actually brought up in one of our conversations. We interviewed the guy from the Heritage Foundation. We brought this up because I think we talked about this with Doge as well. When you do things quickly and you do things aggressively, that's how you get shit done. But that's also when mistakes get made.
Right.
And I think a human being plucked out of nowhere and ending up in a country he's never been in a maximum security prison with gang members, seems like a bad thing to happen to me.
It's horrific. It's horrific.
I don't think that should be controversial.
No, that's not controversial at all. And this is the thing, measured twice, cut once.
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy. That could be possible. That's horrific, and that's bad for the cause. Like, the cause is, let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees. But let's not innocent gay hairdressers get lumped up with the gangs, and then, like, how long before that guy can get out? Can we figure out how to get him out? Is there any plan in place to alert the authorities that they've made a horrible mistake and correct it?
Well, if you think about it from a government perspective, and this is where I think it gets quite sinister, is once you've done that, the incentive structure is never going to be to admit that and deal with it. The incentive structure is to say nothing, to cover it up, to pretend it didn't happen,
But
right?
that is horrible.
So someone ends up in a black hole. But we've seen it.
Right.
We've seen it in every country, including in America.
But that's the thing about politics, right? Never admit your fault. Never admit you're wrong.
It's so dumb.
And this is the thing we're seeing with the signal thing, and this is the thing we're seeing with this. It's like, I don't know if it's been brought to their attention. I mean, I would assume someone's alerted them to the fact that they might have rounded up this just random hairdresser and accused him of being a gang member.
Did you find the story, Jamie?
But
Time magazine.
The thing is, it's like, what steps can be taken? Does the prison know now? Does everybody know? Can they talk to that guy? Can they pull him out of there?
Well, this is it. It's a maximum security. It's a maximum security prison. So the answer, I think, is we don't know at this moment. But
what is his life like in there, man? I mean,
Yeah, it's horrific.
fuck.
But
Horrific.
this is also a large part of why this happened is because of illegal immigration. So you had this, and look, I'm half Venezuelan. You had Tren de Aragua, which causes chaos in Venezuela. It comes to the U.S. It causes horrendous amounts of chaos in the U.S., and that's awful. But also as well is then ordinary, decent, hard-working Venezuelans who all they want to do, their entire country has gone to shit, who have come here legally. They just want to work. They want to get ahead. They have jobs. They just have got families. They're trying to make ends meet. And all of a sudden, all you hear is Venezuelan does this, Venezuelan does that. And you're like, oh my God, man. It tars all of us with that brush.
Right.
I was walking in New York and I saw this group of this Venezuelan family, and they were there begging for money and for whatever else. And maybe it just hits harder because, they're from where I'm from or where my mum's from. And you just go, it just tarnishes all of us with the same brush.
Right.
When the reality is, like we were saying before, Most of them are just good, decent, hard-working people. But because you don't have checks and balances in place, because you're not letting people, you're not vetting people, you're getting the worst of society. And the worst of society gives everybody else a bad name.
Gives everybody a bad name, but it also you have to wonder why that's being tolerated. Is that being done on purpose? Do you want more crime and more civil unrest? Is this part of your goal? Why else would you do this? Why do you want to disrupt society in this way and allow this to take place? Allow the possibility of some sort of a gang attack or anything horrible to happen. What is this, Janie? Oh, this is it?
There's one in Forbes as well, Jamie.
This is
in
from
Forbes.
Time magazine. A photojournalist was on hand in El Salvador as prison guards beat a man who is likely to be Andy, a gay Venezuelan barber makeup artist who is seemingly falsely accused of being a gang member and renditioned by the Trump administration with literally no due process. So do they have a photograph that looks like this guy? A young man sobbed when a guard pushed him to the floor. He said, "I'm not a gang member. I'm gay. I'm a barber." I believed him. He began to whimper as his head was roughly shaved, folding his hands in prayer as his hair fell. He asked for his mother and cried as he was slapped again. Jesus Christ.
I sent you the Forbes story, John. You're fine if you can forward it to Jamie. Maybe he
you
can pull
did?
it up. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
And it,
Fuck, man.
yeah.
I don't know. Did Glenn Greenwald write it for sure? Because that's probably
Glenn
how I
commented on it,
That's how
but
I
there
was-
is a
yeah.
Forbes
Yeah,
story that I
I
sent.
found out about it from Glenn.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, you know, it's awful that, you know, because you put yourself in that person's shoes.
Yeah.
And
I just sent it, Jamie.
what's terrifying about that is that you think about what that poor guy is going through.
Yeah.
You know, if this story is real, what that guy is going through, that is literally the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah.
That's literally the stuff of nightmares. You have no recourse to any type of justice. There's no due process. You get rounded up. You then get kicked out of the country. You're in a maximum security prison with some of the most vicious gang members.
What to know about Andrew, 31-year-old makeup artist, falsely deported to El Salvador prison, lawyer says. Immigration attorney say a gay Venezuelan makeup artist seeking asylum in the U.S. was wrongly detained as a gang member and deported to El Salvador, a case becoming a flashpoint in the debate over the Trump administration's deportation of hundreds of migrants to a notoriously inhumane El Salvador mega prison. So again, it's hard to know
It's hard to know.
what's real and what's not real. But if it is real, this is fucking horrible.
But if you think about it, Joe, like I say, if you're rounding up hundreds of people, mistakes are going to get made because everyone's human.
100%.
And you then have to have a system, I think, that allows you to amend and make adjustments for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can't be bury your head in the sand and
No.
pretend it didn't happen.
No.
Yeah.
And this is the trouble with government. The incentive structure is all wrong. Like, to admit that is now embarrassing,
That's crazy.
right? And it's scary. We have the same problem in the UK in terms of the illegal immigration. And if we ever get a government that's going to deal with that, we're also going to have to remove a lot of people who are there illegally. They shouldn't be there. A lot of them are. And, you know, like I said, we had a report that shows they're way more likely to commit sexual crimes, way more likely to commit violent crimes, they're way more likely to commit all sorts of crimes. We are going to have to remove them, but you have to do it in a way where there's due process and a respect.
Are they trying to remove them in England?
No.
At all?
No. They're saying they are, but they're not removing them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the mistakes like that have to be corrected if you want reasonable people to be on board with you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. If you want, you know, compassionate people to be on board with you, you can't deport gay hairdressers seeking asylum. That's fucking crazy. And then throw them in an El Salvador prison. That's
not even his country.
right.
You deport
Exactly.
people back to their country.
Right. It's nuts. It's just, what was the story with the student that got arrested for writing an op-ed piece?
Is that the Khalil guy or
No, the woman.
Is that the girl from the Korean girl from? Is that the Korean girl from Columbia University? I don't know.
Korean?
No, that's a different one. There's so many of them. There was a woman who got arrested for writing some sort of a thing. This is a Turkish student at
Turkish.
Tufts University. Latest Palestinian supporter swept up in U.S. crackdown.
Right.
What did she get arrested for? Have you seen this one?
No.
I saw it, but I haven't delved into it.
Joe, sorry, could I have the lighter, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Here
Man.
you go.
She engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans.
but the department did not provide evidence of that support.
Right.
What does that mean? I heard she wrote some piece on Israel.
Yeah. I don't know what the law of that is because she's not an American national.
Right.
But instinctively, I'm just like, that's a lot. That's like crazy.
I think she's been in America, though, since she was 7.
Right. Has she?
I believe so.
I thought she had a student visa.
I think she's been in America since she was very young. I think that's one of the things that I had read.
Okay. She'd previously been arrested in April 2024 for taking part. Yeah.
Taking part in protests at Columbia University. So it seems like they're really trying to crack down at some of these Columbia protests, right?
And I'm in two minds about that because I think on a free speech basis, unless I don't know the law.
Just for clarity, that was a second person.
Second person.
Oh, this is a second person that was arrested?
Second arrest.
Oh, second pro-Palestinian Columbia University protester. Okay, so this second person has been arrested before. Yeah. Okay.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, are we really arresting people for protesting? Or are they protesting and also causing vandalism and violence? Like, what are we saying?
We don't know, right?
All right.
But I think there's the legal thing from what I've read is very complicated because if someone is not a U.S. national,
Right.
they may be subject to different rules or they may not. I think that's a kind of live debate. But from a purely principles perspective, someone being arrested for writing an article seems extreme.
30-year-old was arrested and physically restrained by immigration officers near her apartment close to Tufts University's Somerville campus, where she was a PhD student. 6 plainclothes officers surrounded, how do you say that name? Ozturk?
Ozturk.
As she walked alone. Neighborhood surveillance video appears to show the officers did not show their badges until she was restrained, the video shows. She affiliated with prestigious American universities to be arrested for purported activities related to terrorist organizations amid the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. So what did she say, though? Like,
she engaged in activities in support of Hamas. But what does that mean?
Right. Without specifying what those alleged activities were. Yeah, this is scary shit.
Yeah.
You know, especially if it's just protesting. I mean, I don't know, you know.
Look, the counter argument on this, and I think it's one that I, as someone who visits the United States, also feel is like, I don't think the United States would have given this person a visa if she had told them this is what she plans to do in America, right? So that's their argument. That's the argument that Marco Rubio is making, which is if we'd known you were going to do this, we were never going to give you a visa.
Right. I don't think this is the one that I'm thinking about that was here since she was 7.
No, that's a Korean girl at Columbia University, Joe.
Oh, okay. And they're talking about deporting her, right?
Yes, they're talking about deporting her, but I don't know enough about
and
that.
what had she done? Had she committed vandalism or...
I don't know enough about it. Jamie, if you get it up, then we can have a look at it. But that's the one you're thinking of. The girl who'd been here since she was 7 is a Columbia student.
This girl also went to Columbia. So she got a master's degree at Columbia.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Columbia is the hotbed.
Seems like that.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Why particularly Columbia?
Well, there have been a lot of protests, pro-Palestine protests in Colombia.
There she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal. You know, we're rapidly approaching the time where America and the UK is going to have a pretty uncomfortable debate as to what is acceptable and what is unacceptable when it comes to dealing with people who come here illegally, people who commit crime, or even if they attend protests.
Yeah.
Where is the line? Because we're going to have to make a decision. Because until we do that and we start to actually apply the law as it's meant to be applied and put certain laws in place, then these type of things are just going to continue to happen.
Yeah,
100%, especially if someone wants them to happen. Because that's my fear, is that a lot of these things are paid for and organized, including a lot of these protests at universities. I think they're doing it on purpose. And I think they're trying to build up a lot of passion in these people for being disruptive, and a lot of passion for protest and passion for, and then they weaponize it. I really do. I believe that's exactly what they did with the Tesla buildings, with all the Tesla dealerships being lighted on fire. They weaponized it, and it's a good test run. You know, if they can weaponize it against Tesla, they can do that with a lot of other things and justify that kind of vandalism and fire and arson and all the chaos and property destruction.
I went to UCLA campus. This was May last year, and I went to a pro-Palestine demonstration, and I just went around just interviewing people, talking to students, and both on pro-Palestine and the other side. And one thing one of the kids said to me was, as he was trying to get into the library, he was like, you know, most of the people who are doing this, they're not from UCLA. They're not from this college campus.
Right.
What are they doing here?
Right.
He goes, look, fair enough. If you want to protest and you go to UCLA, that's all cool, whatever. Number one, don't stop me from getting an education when my parents have paid X amount for it. But number two, like he pointed at one of the dudes. He was like, that guy's about 42. I know he doesn't go to my college.
Right.
Why is he here protesting?
It's being paid.
Yeah, and you're right. And there are a lot of foreign governments that want this shit to be going on.
100%. And there's a lot of bots online that want this to be. There's a lot of like momentum that pushes things into these directions. These are not organic. Just like Bernie Sanders' rally numbers aren't organic. Like these are not organic. There's a narrative. I mean, that was during the Kamala Harris administration, or during the campaign rather. You saw these inorganic moments where they filled these arenas with people that were paid, and they spent how many billion? $2 billion over the course of 3 months to do this, and it failed. But it's like you're manufacturing this passion, manufacturing this movement, and a lot of people are dumb, and it works on them.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, like I'm sure you saw that lady who was like bragging about buying champagne and making fun of the guy selling her the champagne because he wasted his vote on Trump. And I'm buying champagne to toast Madam President. She's gonna win. Women have come to she really believed it, like because they gaslit people so hard with their filled arenas and all the news coverage on CNN and MSNBC, and the polls are showing, and it's going to be Kamala Harris is going to be, and they just gaslit the whole country.
And this is what happened with all that woke cancellation stuff as well, where it was a very small number of people who made themselves look a lot bigger online.
Right.
In order to then get companies to back down, to get universities to back down, in order to get other organizations who were just scared of the bad attention to back down. I look at a lot of stuff that happens on social media. I'm going, there's no fucking way that has got 80,000 likes organically. That's not real.
No.
You know,
it's hard to say what's real and what's not real. And until you take that chip in your head, you're not going to know. That's why you need to sign up for the Neuralink program.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I'm really hopeful Elon can solve with X. Is just that was one of the things he said when he took over. We need to deal with the bot problem. I think there's more to do on that front for sure.
Oh, there's a lot more to do, and I don't know what they can actually do. Because with AI, I mean, you can have like really sophisticated programs that tweet as if they are from Afghanistan, tweet as if they're from wherever they are in the world. They can do it in different languages. It can all be done with AI now, and they can argue specific points. Like, this guy is a Nazi. Go out there and say it. And prompt it, and then all of a sudden you've got looks like groundswell of support calling Elon Musk a Nazi, and then a bunch of people hop onto that, and they think it's organic, and they think that like these people are fed up. That's why they're going to the Tesla dealerships. No, they're being paid, and they're trying to crash the stock of Tesla. They're trying to put people into panic mode so that it puts pressure on Elon to drop Doge. Like this is what's going on. Like, and you're watching it as if it's this organic moment. It's a puppet show. You're watching a puppet show.
And that's the thing that that really worries. I think everybody at the moment is at a very basic, fundamental level. I don't know what's real and what's not.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, man.
I wish I did, because people think I do. Like, oh, you have inside information. I don't have any. I have zero. I don't know what's going on.
I think we all need to understand. You to a greater extent, us to a lesser extent. Like, we're not real people to people online. We're just avatars.
Right.
And then they imbue us with this knowledge that we've got this knowledge that we can see things.
You're controlled opposition.
Oh, we are so that.
Yeah.
We get
Me
that
too.
so much.
It's hilarious. That is that's for people that are just a little too smart to believe the earth is flat. They'll go with controlled opposition. But it's just they just don't know. Like, if you're on the outside looking in, like, if you're looking at Tom Hanks in his house, it must be a pedophile to get that house. You know what I mean? Like, everybody on the outside of, like, people that are, which, with a guy like Tom Hanks is essentially like a kind of royalty. like a movie star royalty, like that class of celebrity is like almost beyond. And so they don't seem like normal people to you. They go to that eyes wide shut party and drink baby blood, and like there's all these bizarre things attributed to those people, and they're in control of the narrative. But there's some people that really are in control of the narrative. There's some people that really are like CIA agents that are on TV shows. You know, that's real. There's like people that have worked for the CIA that are now on television telling you what the news is. If that doesn't seem fucking crazy, you know, it's just we're going through a bizarre period of being bombarded with constant information, having unprecedented access to each other and information, and also watching all the powers that be try to snatch up more and more control over society. And we're watching it play out in real time. And we're concentrating on girls and sports and whether or not this is real. Should gay people still be able to get married? It's all bullshit. Like, you're just watching more and more power be acquired by the people with the most amount of money.
Yeah, and that's why people like Jeff Bezos buy with the Washington Post.
Well, at least he turned it around and said lately that they're going to have to stop with all these left-wing opinion pieces and just post about the news.
Yeah.
You know, which everybody's freaking out because they really think they have like a mandate to be like the moral voice of the world, which is so hilarious.
I agree with you. That is good. But do you think any journalist is going to be allowed to write a piece about Amazon criticizing them?
I doubt it. I wouldn't do it. If I worked there, I'd shut my fucking mouth. I want to buy a house. Trying to buy a house.
Yeah.
I can't listen. I get it. Yeah, they should get more money. Whatever.
That comes back to our Lord of the Rings conversation, because even well-intentioned people who are doing things that we might like,
right?
Everyone's got an agenda.
Well, until
especially
AI
billionaires
comes along and equally distributes all the money. So once AI... Boys, let's wrap this up. I appreciate you both very much. It's always cool to talk to you. I'm happy you visit often, and I'm glad you're having a good time over here, and I hope you get your fucking shit together with your country, because come on.
Joe,
come on now.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I've got a book out in August. It's called Classroom Confidential.
It's in August it's coming out?
It's in, August the 18th.
Have you finished it?
I've finished it,
It takes that long to release a book?
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
It does. Particularly the printing industry
That's
in the
crazy.
UK. Yeah. So, so it's coming out. It's all about being a teacher and why you should never be one.
And it's very funny.
Beautiful.
Very
beautiful.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, come back when it comes out.
Yeah.
Come back. We'll talk again.
I'd love to.
Your show, Triggernometry, it's available everywhere. Anything else?
We both got Substacks.
Yep. I've got a Substack. He's got a Substack.
Look at you guys. Fucking writing and shit. And your show is how many times a week do you guys do it?
We put 2 episodes out every week. So Wednesdays and Sundays is interviews.
Do you do like Substacks episodes, like different ones, or Patreon or
So
anything
yeah,
like that?
on our Substack, on the Trigonometry Substack, you get to hear the guest answer your questions. So people send in questions ahead of time.
Oh, that's cool.
And so-
that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a
People
good-
love that.
That's a great idea. That's a
Yeah.
good way to add extra value.
Yeah. That's what we're always thinking about, is how do we offer people who support us extra value? Because unlike the people on the internet who say we're controlled opposition paid by blah, 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 we're actually just paid by our fans.
That's actually a very good idea, though, to let the fans actually have questions, too. And
Yeah.
read those off, find the good ones. And
A
that's
lot of them
awesome.
are good ones. And what we often do as well is we look through them before the interview. And if we can't get them in at the end, we'll actually try and incorporate them into the discussion itself.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate you both very much, always.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. Thank you
Cheers,
very much.
thanks.
Bye, everybody.